Good evening. We're going to call to order the Town of Lake Clark Shores Town Council meeting for April 12th, 2022. Mary, can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Paul Shalhoub,
Present.
Vice Mayor Robert Shalhoub.
Here.
President Pro Tem Gregory Freebold.
Here.
Councilmember Valteen Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Albert Pavone.
We could all stand for a moment of silence. Ronald Haynes died earlier this year at the age of 62. He was the brother of longtime resident Robert Haynes. And Mabel Wieland passed away at 95 years old. She is a retired Town of Lantana town clerk. May their memories be eternal. Father Peter, would you be so kind as to do the invocation?
Good evening, let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we prepare to celebrate the feast of feasts, the resurrection of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, we are ever mindful of the precious gift of life in your heavenly kingdom by way of the cross, 3-day burial, and resurrection from the dead. As we prepare to share in the joy of the resurrection, we are also thankful for the life which you have granted to us. Help us to lift up those around us who may be suffering and have fallen into despair during these difficult times, so they too may receive and embrace the joy and the beauty of life. We pray for those who govern, grant them wisdom. For those who put themselves in harm's way for us, protect them. And for this community, granted peace, stability, and love for one another. This we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Father Peter.
Thank you.
All right. We have the oath of office for Robert M.W. Shalhoub, who was reelected, newly elected Robert Bobby Gonzalez, and reelected Valentine Rodriguez Jr. Mary, would you like to proceed with Robert Shalhoub first?
I think he's going to have his granddaughter or
Okay.
grandchildren do it. I'm not sure who.
Number one granddaughter.
We have that recorded. We have that recorded.
Firstborn.
That's our first.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert M.W. Shalhoub,
I, Robert M.W. Shalhoub,
a citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
and a
a recipient
Of-
of public funds as such officer,
recipient of public funds as such officer, do solemnly swear that I will
do solemnly swear that I will
support, protect, and defend the Constitution,
support, protect, and defend the Constitution
the government of the United States, and the government of the United States,
and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
all of the duties of the office
all of the duties of the office
of the councilman of the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
and of councilman of the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
on which I am about to enter.
of which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Great.
He was my biggest supporter, my biggest volunteer.
Oh, so sweet.
Oh, wait. I'm not gonna throw this thing on the-
Thank you.
Congratulations, Vice Mayor, on your reelection.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go now to Group 4, Robert Bobby Gonzalez.
Mary, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pull an audible and have my sister. close.
Oh, nice. Here, you have the one? There it is. Just put his name in
That is you, right? Okay. I've never done this before. I, Robert Gonzalez,
I, Robert Gonzalez,
a citizen of the state of Florida
citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
and a recipient of the public funds as such officer,
and a recipient of public funds as such officer,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will,
do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support,
protect and defend the Constitution
protect and defend the Constitution
and government of the United States
and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and that I will well and faithfully perform
all of the duties of the office of councilman
all of the duties of the office of councilman
of the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
of the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, you want me to?
Congratulations, Bobby, on your election. And now Group 5, Valentin Rodriguez Jr.
Chosen Bob. I've been on the council 16 years, Bob.
Even before then. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Valentin Rodriguez,
I, Valentin Rodriguez,
a citizen of the state of Florida
a citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
in the United States of America,
and being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
being an officer of the town of Lake Clark Shores,
and a recipient of public funds as such officer,
and the recipient of public funds as such officer,
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
protect, and defend the Constitution
protect, and defend the Constitution
and the government of the United States
and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
state of Florida,
and that I am duly qualified to hold office
and duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
that I will well and faithfully perform
all of the duties of the office of councilman
all of the duties of the office of councilman
of the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
the town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida,
of which I am now about to enter.
on which I'm now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you, Bob.
Congratulations, Val. All right. The next item on the agenda is reorganization of the town council.
I so move that Paul Shalhoub be mayor, Robert Shalhoub vice mayor, and Gregory Feeble president pro tem.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to move on to presentations. Before we get to those, also want to recognize that we have Senator Lori Berman here from our district. Welcome. And we have Representative David Silvers. Thank you very much for being here. You're going to get to hear from both of them on the state, what took place up in the legislature earlier this year. And we have Fire Chief Tracy Adams with us again. Welcome. Thank you for being here as always. If you do want to say anything at the end of the presentations, please feel free to let me know and come on up. All right, let's start with Senator Berman. If you'd be so kind as to give us an update.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Congratulations to the newly elected. And good evening, friends. And sorry, my back is to you.
If you want, you can
Can I
turn
move
around.
it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Or just spin it around and move the mic, yeah.
sideways maybe, so I can address both of you at the same time. Let's see if we can do that. So we finished our session. We met in January. We started in January. We ended in the beginning of March. Last year when we had our session, we actually have one constitutional duty as legislators, and that is to pass a balanced budget. And we were successful in doing that. We last year we had a balanced budget of $101 billion for the state of Florida. This year we had $112 billion, so almost a 10% increase in 1 year.
Wow.
It was a very robust year. There was a lot of money from the federal government, and the state has done pretty well in collecting taxes. So it was a really well-received budget because we had so much money this year. This is my 12th year in the legislature, and I've been in some really rough years, and it's always better when we have a good budget to work with. So there was a lot of things that were done for the citizens of the state. We're giving our teachers a minimum salary of $47,000. We're giving raises to our law enforcement. We're giving all our state employees a $15 minimum wage. We did a lot of things for the environment. We put a lot of money away for that. We also, even with this big budget, we put away a lot of money for reserves because you never know when things are going to turn the other way around. So we put almost $9 billion into reserves, including some money for an inflation fund, which we all know we're suffering right now from pretty bad inflation. So it was overall, it was pretty much a budget that everybody was able to support, which was really great because there are years that we're not all able to support it. And I'm really happy to report that Lake Clark Shores got $600,000 for the Pine Tree Lane Bridge safety upgrades. Representative Silvers and myself worked on it along with with Richard Pinsky, who is employed by the city, and we were really successful to get the $600,000 in the budget. I'm really happy about it, and I'm really glad to be able to bring that back to Lake Clark Shores. And there was a lot of money for Palm Beach County overall. We really did well, and our delegation works hard together to bring back money to Palm Beach County because as you probably might know, we are considered a donor county. Palm Beach County is one of the wealthier counties. And in the end, we give more money to the state than we get back. So we're always up there fighting to get back money to the state. We spent a lot of time on some of the culture wars, and my colleague will talk a little bit more about that. But because we spent so much time doing that, we didn't do some of the things that we probably should have been doing that were really upsetting. We didn't do anything about property insurance, and I'm sure many of you have gotten your property insurance bills and they've gone up ridiculously high. There is a discussion about having a special session about it, and it could happen before we go back in November. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. The other thing that didn't happen is we didn't do anything about Surfside. Remember the building that collapsed in Miami? We need to be doing more building inspections, and we need to be putting away reserves so that those buildings are prepared when they have these big expenses. Some of the cities, the city of Boca Raton did their own inspections. So it's something that you may want to consider. I like to talk a little bit to the council members about what we did for preemption so that you're prepared. So for those of you who don't know, preemption is when the state says, we are the only ones who can enact laws in this area. So we take away the power from the local governments. I am always opposed to these bills when we do this because I think local government knows best what all of you want. So this year we did what they call the mother of all preemptions. And what it says is if the city council passes an ordinance and you have a business that's in your city that's been in existence for 3 years, if they say that that ordinance resulted in 15% loss of their business, they can come to you, ask you to repeal the ordinance, and if you don't repeal it, they can sue you for the damages. The governor hasn't signed it yet. I know a lot of the county commission in Palm Beach County is asking the governor to veto it. It's something that you might want to consider doing, asking the governor to veto it, because it could have, the League of Cities estimated it could have a $900,000 impact on cities and counties because of that one piece of legislation. So it was a little disturbing. We did actually pass one reverse preemption, which was really exciting. And that is that we said that cities and counties can now allow smoking and vaping, can now regulate smoking and vaping in their parks and beaches. So that's something that you also might want to consider. Being that it was Tallahassee, we did do one exception with that regard for one senator, and the exception is for cigar smoking. So a little strange, but that you can't regulate cigar smoking, but you can still regulate cigarettes and vaping. I like to kind of end with what I think is the silliest bill that we did in the legislature. And that was, we passed the state dessert this year, and it is strawberry shortcake. Key lime pie is still the state pie, but we did spend some time doing strawberry shortcake. We did have, this is the one every 10 years, we have one other constitutional duty, and that is to pass new maps based on the Senate, on the census. The Senate and the House passed their own maps, and we have those, and we are working on those. We could not agree on a congressional map. We submitted a congressional map to the governor. He vetoed it. We are going back next week to talk about the congressional map. So we will see what happens with that. In the new maps, I do not have Lake Clark Shores, believe it or not. So, but yeah, I have, it's been my pleasure to represent all of you. And even though I will not have the geographic area, you should know, as I said, we all work together in Palm Beach County. I am always here for you guys. I will always be happy to help anybody, you know, regardless of where they live, even if it's not my geographic area. We always work really hard to help everybody in Palm Beach County. So it's been my pleasure to be with all of you, and I'm sure I will continue to work with all of you. And thank you very much.
Senator Berman, thank you very much. Representative Silvers, no, come on up. You're right on time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just gonna, can I just address?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
I know all of you.
Yeah.
By the way, congratulations. Congratulations. I'm David Silvers. I'm your state representative. And according to the maps, I'm still going to be your state representative if reelected in 2022. Thank you. Appreciate that. Senator Berman did mention a lot of what happened in this past legislative session. We had a record budget this year. Something that the senator did not mention that I would like to bring up was that there is a $200 million gas tax holiday coming up a month before the election this fall. So that's something to look forward to in October. We had a 15% increase approximately of our budget. And also it was great to see that state workers are getting a nice little raise to see with, to go along with inflation coming along. Now, Senator Berman mentioned that there was a lot of legislation that passed, and there was some controversial legislation. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. House Bill 1557, Don't Say Gay, and also, yeah. Oh no, the official bill is called Parental Rights. Yeah, I'm saying. You don't want me to talk about it?
No, we know what it is.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go Gators, by the way. And there's a K through 12 education bill for HB 1467, which establishes a term limit of 12 years for district school board members, beginning with a term starting on or after November 8th, 2022, and excluding time served before the date. And that bill speaks to school library books with regard and the classroom instructional materials, which will now be posted on each district's website for any member of the public to view and object to if they would like to. And then there were some non-controversial bills that I think were incredibly important bills. Not that one bill is more important than the other, but there's a bill called Tenant Safety. I don't know if you're familiar with this bill, HB 577. It's called Maya's bill. I'm going to tell you a little story about Maya. On September 24th, 2021, Maya Marcano went missing from her apartment in Orlando, Florida, and she was later found dead. A police investigation indicated that Marcano was taken from her apartment by a maintenance worker at the same apartment complex who used a master key to enter her apartment. He was found dead a few days later after she went missing from an apparent suicide. The bill entitled Maya's Law increases the time period that a landlord must give to a tenant prior to entering the dwelling unit for repairs to 24 hours from 12 hours. And the bill also requires a landlord of an apartment to require that each employee of that establishment undergo a background screening as a condition of employment. Up until this bill, there was no background screening required. If you got a master key, you can access an apartment. So such background screening must include screening of nationwide criminal records and sexual offender registries. The bill prohibits an operator of a public lodging establishment from offering an hourly rate for accommodation with an exception for late fees. Now, I know that's very detailed, but I'm going to become a father soon of a little girl. And when this legislation came up, I worked very hard with Representative Robin Barberman out of Broward County. I knew she was passionate about it, and I'm passionate about it as well. Now, even if I didn't have a daughter coming, I'd still be passionate about it. This is extremely important legislation, and I really, truly hope the governor does sign it. So I do want to mention one other thing that the senator mentioned, that of course there was the tragedy in Surfside last spring. There was something that was passed. There was one bill. I don't know if it came across your desk, but HB 375, Structural Engineering Recognition Program for Professional Engineers. It establishes the Structural Engineering Recognition Program for Professional Engineers, and it recognizes professional engineers who specialize in structural engineering and have gone above and beyond the required minimum professional engineer licensing standards. Now, the specific requirements are to be determined by the Board of Professional Engineers, but recognition by the Board of Engineers is not required to practice structural engineering. However, engineers who have received this recognition can use it in marketing and advertising their services. Now, the purposes of this legislation is that each and every engineer in Florida will hold themselves out to a greater standard, and that to help further prevent any structural tragedies that happen at Surfside. So I know it's a small step, but something was done, and we're going to build on it next session. And of course, Senator Berman mentioned that we got a $600,000 appropriation for Lake Clark Shores, and we're hoping that it all goes through in the budget, and July 1st it'll be funded. And I know one member in the audience said they wanted to talk to me. I'm happy to talk to them after we're done presenting. If anybody else here would like to speak to me, I'll be here to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Silvers. Thank you both for doing all that you were able to get done to get us that $600,000 in the budget. That's huge. Very, very much appreciated. Mr. Richard Pinsky, would you be so kind as to give everyone our legislative recap?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations, Councilman Gonzalez. Congratulations. Congratulations, Val. I just want to recognize, my name is Richard Pinsky. I represent the town of Lake Clark Shores in Tallahassee. Fortunately, Representative Silvers and Senator Berman does the heavy lift, and I'm there as a resource, but we have a great representation in Tallahassee. We're going to miss you, Senator Berman. The man behind the scenes is Daniel. Stand up here real quick. Senator Berman's aide. And Daniel in particular watches all the budget items the same way Christy Fernley in Representative Silver's office. Both offices are always open. These are two of the most accessible legislators. There's never a time when they say, I don't have time to see you. So we're very fortunate, and we are going to miss you, Senator Berman. I'm not going to cover anything they did. I am going to drill down to a little bit of the items that are in particular interest to the town of Lake Clark Shores. So Dan, am I queued up? Oh, there I am. Okay, good.
You are.
I don't know if anybody can see that. So we'll just skip right over that. This is your Palm Beach County delegation, and it highlights the two members that are here. Let's skip over this one. These are upcoming dates. Okay, so the big issue that Representative Silvers and Senator Berman both worked on. Yes, they took victory lap on the Pine Tree Bridge, but they did so much more this session. House Bill 471 is the bill that declared the Edgewater Park neighborhood in the town of Lake Clark Shores as an enclave. There's a statute definition of an enclave. The legislature hates it. Everybody hates enclaves because it's a donut hole right in the middle of your town. But for Florida Mango, it would be an enclave. But because Florida Mango is a county road, it didn't fit the exact definition. So what the legislature did, with the help of Representative Silvers and Senator Berman, the legislature declared, notwithstanding, that's an enclave. So now what happens from that is your council and Dan Clark and everyone will now go to the county and talk about a better, less expensive distribution of services for those for that particular neighborhood. So congratulations to the town of Lake Clark Shores on the passage of House Bill 471. We're hopeful and confident the governor will sign it. Next slide. Okay, we already talked about Pine Tree Bridge. I didn't even know the whole, the actual project is $1.2 million that the legislature likes a match. So the town of Lake Clark Shores is putting up $600,000 and the legislature is going to match that. Again, we started off with a smaller dollar amount. Representative Silvers in particular made sure that budget item got beefed up. Senator Berman, I went to her in the 11th hour. She got it done on the Senate side. So while we're in budget conference, these two champions got us the full $600,000. Next slide. We were not successful in the waterway vegetation removal. We were asking for $700,000, another 50% match for Lake Osborne. We are under a mandate from the Department of Environmental Protection. This is a piece of it, is removing the vegetation from the water body. Next.
Not Lake Osborne, Lake Clark.
Lake Clark, yes. I'm thinking of the what we did today. Next slide, please. Okay, Blue Way Trail. Again, these two folks were very helpful, but we work with Palm Beach County on this one. And the Blue Way Trail is actually a paddling trail. I know everyone's focused on a boat lift at the C-51 flood control structure, but actually it's a paddling trail that goes from Lake Ida in Delray Beach all the way to the Hilton and out to the Intercoastal Waterway where it meets up with the internavigational circumnavigational trail that state of Florida has. So what we don't have on the Blue Way Trail, paddling trail, are portage areas, launch areas for canoes, et cetera. Right now, you just go in somebody's backyard and throw your canoe in. So this $250,000, we asked for $250,000, there's no match. and that was successful. So we're going to have portage areas in Lake Clark Shores, John Prince Park, Lake Ida, Spillway Park, and Lake Worth. And we talked to the county today about getting that once the governor signs the budget and does not veto that item. Next slide. This, Senator Berman, I really thought you were going to touch on this one. But this is a larger issue that town of Lake Clark Shores singularly is going to benefit from. And this is the water quality project that ties into the Lake Worth Lagoon initiative. It's a $1.7 million appropriation that we are going to definitely and directly benefit from here in the town of Lake Clark. So this was actually probably one of the biggest items. Senator Berman got it in, I believe, on the Senate side, and then the House, you matched it up on the House side, I think. So so again, without our legislative champions, this would not have happened. Next slide. I'll just touch on this. We don't sit back. We are working. Wasn't the FERDAP money in here? Oh, I missed the slide on FERDAP. How many people in here love pickleball? Okay. Your town manager and your council directed your manager to put in for a Florida Development Recreational Assistance Program grant, known acronym FERDAP, for $110,000 to do pickleball at your park. That made it in the legislature fully funded. As you heard earlier, there's a lot of money on the table this session, so they fully funded all the recreational FERDAP grants, of which $110,000 is going to go to the town of Lake Clark Shores. So I thought I had a slide on that, but no, anyway, so these are items that going forward, these are the most significant grants. There's cultural grants too, but these grants on this slide that you can't read because it's too small are going to be what we're working on right now for next session. And I never thought I'd see a $112 billion budget, and maybe we'll never see it again, but we want to make sure there's grants that get funded through the budget as part of our profile that we're going to go forward next year. So I think that is it. Any more slides? Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll be here after for any questions. The council has any.
I don't have any questions for you right now, Richard. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Anyone?
Appreciate it.
All right, and we have someone from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram. Is it Christine? Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. This is a presentation on our fiscal year audit.
I'm Christine Olrance. I'm the partner at Carr, Riggs & Ingram. We did your fiscal year 21, so that ends September 30th audit. I'm just going to give you some high-level summary of what happened, and you can read the report as you wish. You do have a clean, unmodified opinion, so that is the opinion that you want to receive from your auditors. Your general fund is your main operating fund. Your revenues, if you compared 21 to 20, did decline 106,000. That was mainly due to some large liens you received in 20 that didn't happen again in 21. Your expenditures decreased $250,000. You had less capital projects happening in fiscal year 21 compared to 20. And you did come in $5,000 under budget on your expenditures. So your net change in fund balance, so that's similar to net income for your general fund, was a positive $144,000. You do have a new major fund. So the ARPA stimulus money, you got your first tranche or half of that grant funds before the end of the year. You utilized 120,000 of that to buy servers. So you did some nice IT upgrades. And then you had 788,000 that's shown as unearned revenue just because you hadn't spent it yet, but you had the cash. You'll get your other half this summer, the rest of your ARPA funds. So you have until December 2024 to obligate it and December 2026 to spend that. There is a single audit threshold if you hit $750,000 in expenditures in a year. This past Friday, Treasury made a change. So instead of a single audit, you could possibly do another type of review that might be a little less cumbersome. But that's something to think about as you're spending it and picking projects. Because if you hit that threshold, that's just an extra expense the town would have to incur. In terms of audit findings or things to improve upon, last year we had 2. The town cleared one and then partially cleared the other. So the manual review piece was cleared right away from that one finding. The other one related to your IT and who has access to what. The upgrade to your software was delayed until it's happening like right now. So as soon as the town is done, we're going to work with the town and look at that user access so we can make sure it's cleared before the end of your fiscal year. There was one new finding. It's just budgetary compliance. You have 60 days after the end of the year to amend your budget, and you amended it right at the beginning of December. So you just missed that 60-day cutoff. And just so you know, in the management letter in the back, there is new information in there regarding your CRA. This is information the state's collecting. It had to go in your AFR to the state. There's nothing, it's every CRA, so this is not specific to you. It's just something new that's in there. Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone have any questions? No.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Chief Adams, would you like to do a brief presentation?
Actually, it's been an exciting council meeting. I've heard go Gators, pickleball, and a big Florida budget. I'm excited. Thank you for having me. I'm Tracy Adams, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, one of the district chiefs that serves your area here. I have some good information. The former fire chief, Chief Duran, was appointed by Virginia Baker as Assistant County Administrator, which means we have a new fire chief now, Chief Patrick Kennedy. And Chief Kennedy has been with the fire department for well over 25 years. We actually got promoted together as captains at one of the stations down in Boca, and now he's the big chief. What happened to me, right? We won't talk about that. But anyway, very excellent employee, family man. We're very fortunate that we have Chief Kennedy now as our fire chief. Sorry, I don't mean to put my back toward you.
It's all good.
Last month, we ran 29 calls here in Lake Clark Shores, 23 of them being medical, which is usually about 80% medical, and the rest of them being a combination maybe of motor vehicle or fires. And the good news is our turnout time is good. Turnout time being the time that dispatch calls us at the fire station and says go. We strive to be out of the fire station within a minute and a half. Well, of the majority of them are well lower than that, even under a minute. So that's very good. The travel time is hard for us to control. I wish I could control the travel time, but we cannot. Other than that, unless anybody has any questions, thank you for having me, and you can have your meeting go on. Any questions?
Any questions? No, thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate all that y'all do for us.
Pickleball is fun. It's like tennis, but it's a little bit easier.
All right. Going to move on to new business approval of resolution 2022-05 expressing appreciation to Robert Gonzalez for his service on the Code Enforcement Board.
So, excuse me just for a minute, Mr. Mayor. This is where Mr. Gonzalez needs to declare a conflict and step off the dais, since this is all about him. And we appreciate very much the work that he did on the code board, but we can't have him passing his own resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I have declared a conflict. I cannot sit on this one. I'm sorry. You'll have to continue without me.
No problem. There was a motion to pass and there was a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Come on back.
It was a close call, pal. Just want to make sure we're doing everything by the letter of the law.
Absolutely. All right, so I gotta say, it's so great to see a full house today. I wish it was a packed house every time we had a meeting. I love seeing all these faces and neighbors. The next item on the agenda is a septic to sewer conversion and the status of that project. And I'm sure a lot of people here have some questions and/or want to receive some additional information. So I want to start with this before we continue. In addition to people telling me they're in favor of the project, they're not in favor of the project, there are some that also have advised me that they're in favor, and some of the main issues I've heard from those individuals that are in favor of the conversion, but not currently as proposed or planned by the town, those issues include, or statements include, I'm for it, but not like this. We should get all the information and then make a decision. I'm for it, but not at this cost. I'm for it, but not until we have all the money from others. I'm for it, but not unless we share the cost with other municipalities. And I appreciate those concerns, and I want to address some of them with you all here today. We have been planning for this situation for many years. It was something I was discussing with Dan Clark during my initial campaign back in 2016. And it was something the council before me had Dan look into and get ready for prior to 2016. And since 2016, we developed a master plan done by AECom, one of our sets of engineers, obtained monies from the state to assist with the costs associated with the planning and design of the current conversion. Each year, we have been asking the state for monies to put towards this project. For the most part, those monies sought by the town committed to put up matching funds for any funding that was obtained. It was the foresight of the council and the town which has put us in this very well-informed position that we're in today. I can assure all of our residents that this is not a project that we are rushing into. It is something that we have been preparing for, as we knew someday we would be required to take action to address the issues created by the septic system in our town. The costs we know about are currently estimates. And as we go forward, we're going to get better cost estimates called engineer's opinion of costs. Now, ultimately, just like any construction project, the full cost of each phase won't be certain until completion. One thing we know that is almost guaranteed is that the longer we wait, the higher the cost will likely be. FDEP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, is of the opinion that if the town didn't contact them and advise them of our voluntary plan to go through this conversion to address the impairment of our lake and the removal of nutrients in our lake, that we would be doing a disservice to the town. I want to take a moment and read to you from their answers that they provided to some residents' questions. If the town of Lake Clark cannot contact the DEP regarding the ongoing septic to sewer project, the water body would be placed on the verified list, and the total maximum daily load, TMDL, you'll hear that often, I'm sure today, would subsequently be developed for the lake. In this scenario, it is likely that Lake Clark will be placed on DEP's 2-year TMDL work plan for TMDL development and adoption by 2024. Responsible entities, including the town of Lake Clark, would then be expected to identify projects or activities necessary to achieve the TMDL required reductions. Our expectation is that the town would identify the same septic to sewer project proposed in the alternative restoration plan to attain the TMDL requirements. The benefit of the alternative restoration plan over the TMDL route is that the alternative restoration plan can begin the pathway towards restoration soon, thus leading to cleaner water faster and before conditions in Lake Clark worsen and require costlier remedies. Essentially what they're saying is the path that we're going on now, which is the alternative restoration plan, in their opinion, is a better approach than waiting the 2 years and going the TMDL route. We would still be forced, if we delayed this project, to come up with a solution. It'll be a similar path that we're on now, just delayed by 2 years at least. And we would have to spend significant dollars during the TMDL and BMAP process just to comply and make sure those processes are going smoothly. And we still would have to address what's likely to be a larger amount of contaminant removal in our lake at a higher cost. Now, unfortunately, The best way to obtain funding, whether it's bonds, grants, appropriations from the state or the federal government or DEP, is to have shovel-ready projects. Water bond dollars, by way of example, require shovel-ready projects. To be in the best position for grants and appropriations, even the state revolving fund monies where we're going to be able to, where we have an opportunity to get loans, we need to be able to put that money to work once we obtain it, which means we need to be shovel-ready. We have to plan it, design it, permit it, and be ready to build it. We are in that position right now. Everyone, every resident that I've spoken to, every member of this council, I assure you, wants funding for this project. And we are in the best position now to get it. We don't need to wait. Waiting only hurts our chances. For one, certain monies that are available right now that we are currently going after and still and seeking might not be available any longer. And two, monies obtained after the construction can still be used on the project, and money obtained will offset costs on a whole. All impacted residents will benefit from any of the money obtained, regardless of whether it's in phase 1, 2, 3, and so on. None of this money that we're seeking is going to be free money either. Most will require the town to put up matching funds. And in order to proceed with the project, the town will obtain loans at a very low interest rate because we have to have cash flow in order for the project to go forward. Stated another way, we're not missing out on any state or federal monies by proceeding. It's actually quite the opposite. It puts us in a better position to go after those monies and be awarded those monies by the relative entities. If we wait to proceed, we risk missing out on those funding opportunities for multiple reasons, whether that be the money's no longer available or we're not shovel ready. This project is proposed to address our town's portion and share of the issues in our lake system. FDEP is well aware the other municipalities that have responsibility to address those issues. However, those municipalities will not be paying for this conversion, just like us as residents would not be paying for whatever actions those municipalities are going to be taking down the road to address their portion or share of responsibilities. This is a long process and a significant undertaking, and accordingly will require work from each impacted municipality. Those other municipalities currently include Palm Springs and Palm Beach County. Some want to know, if we do this project, how do we know it will fix the problem? Well, first and foremost, the proposed plan is to address part of the problem. There is no one fix it and the whole thing is done. There is not one solution that one entity can implement, but we can do our share, our portion to address the issues. And FDEP has gave us assurance that if we follow through with our project as proposed, that we will be fulfilling our responsibility. So that being said, I want to open the floor to the council for any discussion on this topic before moving to the residents. Councilman Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see everybody here tonight. A lot of neighbors and a lot of friends, and people are very interested. This is a very important topic. Quite frankly, 16 years been on the council this week. I don't think I've ever seen, it this crowded. So that's a good sign. I'm completely open-minded on this topic. I have been since we did this unofficial referendum back in 2005, I think. I have been over the last 16 years. I am all for moving our town forward in the right direction and not violating federal or state environmental laws. But I'm really looking forward to hearing what a lot of people have to say. I want to let everyone know too, at least from my perspective, this is not adversarial. Okay, this is not like we're shouting at each other and we're upset with each other. Remember, all of us up here were elected by you all, and our job are fiduciary. So if I personally don't want to pay for something, that's not a part of my vote, because it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with what's better for the town. And I'll be very frank with you, who has extra money laying around to pay for things? I get that. But I just want to let you know, going into this, let's all keep this very open-minded and very positive, and I think we'll go really far that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. President Pro Tem Freehold.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody. One of the committees that I sit on in the Florida League of Cities and the Palm Beach County League of Cities is the this policy committee is Utilities, Natural Resources, and Public Works. It's undergone changes over the years. And I think I've been on that committee now maybe 12 or 13 years. One of the initial things was the fertilizers that go into the water bodies within the state of Florida. That was one of the biggest aims. So as the mayor had said, the septic to sewer conversion is not a fix all. We are entertaining all sorts of other ideas to clean up the lake. And there are 1,350 miles of coastal waters in the state of Florida. It's the largest coastline in the entire country. So we have a huge effect on the oceans, the lakes within, and it's not just Lake Clark, there's tons of lakes. When I sit up in these committee meetings in Tallahassee and in Orlando and in Fort Lauderdale, the number three or three top priorities within this committee is water quality, water quantity, septic to sewer conversions, and sea level rise, which will affect all of us in so many ways. You just heard the representatives talk about skyrocketing cost of insurance. You're going to see when you get it, it's going to go through the roof, and a lot of it is going to be with sea level rise. Personally, I don't even know how the insurance companies are going to be able to insure those waterfront properties, but that's, you know, another story. We don't have that rise here. However, the places that do affect the entire state. So when we have these discussions, I'm with Val, there's nothing adversarial about this. This is to hear everybody's opinion, see what everybody's thinking, move forward. The reason that we have our CRA and all of the restaurants that are along Forest Hill now is because of the conversion that we did in the beginning that allowed them to be there. Without that, they don't exist. And if you're going to move us forward and you figure out the rules of the game, we need to stay in front of this, which was why I got on the committee initially. Plus the rep for Palm Beach County came to me with my background wanting to know that. So those are some of the other issues that are along with this septic to sewer conversion.
Thank you very much. Councilman Gonzalez.
Thank you. I've gone over 695 pages of reports and different things to try to educate myself on this issue. Spent 2 days basically in between meetings pulling and researching this because it's extremely important. I don't personally want to go out and spend basically half of a car, I think is now what it is, for this conversion or whatnot. And I want to make sure that we're looking at it very carefully. And so of my research, there's multitudes of documents that do show, for example, this is UF, on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems leads to phosphorus. And I wanted to just go back and, you know, very briefly, September 7th, 2021, and just in layman's terms, that lake, our lake, became impaired. And I know that maybe that was maybe put under the rug because we all had COVID going on and there was we had a lot of other things on our plate. But right now that lake is impaired for nutrients, chlorophyll, phosphorus, and so it's and at one point years ago, it was actually June 16th, 2020, it actually registered for fecal coliform. So I know that we can debate in terms of where the sources are going or where they're coming from or how we deal with it. And I want you to know I'm all ears. I want to know as much as I possibly can. But one of the things that I said while I was campaigning and running is that we need to be good stewards and we're fiduciaries of this beautiful town. I've been living here and we all have a kind of a story of how long we've been living, but my family and I, my father moved in, made an amazing choice to move into Lake Clark Shores officially in 1999. In 1992, we actually lived in the enclave. So it was always a dream of ours to come and live and recreate on the lake. And that's what I did growing up. And over the years, the water quality has diminished. So, with that being said, I've looked into Fozlock. It's a type of additive that you put into the water to lock up some of the phosphate. There's other alternatives, such as very expensive septic systems that will remove nitrates, which is expensive. So I want you to know that I'm trying to do my homework, and I still think that, I'm so thankful and so happy for all the work that the council has done before me. I can't take really any credit for that, and making sure that we're prepared and that we have and go into this with eyes wide open is huge. Pouring myself into this, I actually found a soil study for my house, and back in 2016, that the water table registered at 5 feet. And I actually just stopped down the street on Pine Tree, and I stopped at a neighbor's house on Pine Tree, and I noticed that they were doing a lot of construction. And she just told me that they're spending $62,000 on a new drain field and a new septic tank with a lift station. The reason why I'm telling you that is that the water table continues to rise. So if we continue to move forward, and I want to address the elephant in the room, we have a good mix in our neighborhood. We have all generations of all demographics. And while we want to be sensitive to that, I can't look my son and the one that's coming now in the face and say, hey, we're not going to move forward or do anything to protect our water quality. That's important to me, but we want to make sure, and as Mayor Shahoob said, we're doing everything, they're doing everything to try to go and get that money. So, the fork in the road, and Mayor Shahoob talked about it a little bit. Really, FDEP gives us two options. Either we tell them to go fly a kite, and then they now put us on a list and they create a TMDL, or we now make our own decision, and we as a community make the decision to say, hey, we care about our water quality and to do something about it. It's a multifaceted approach, and I do believe that this is one of the approaches. So I've got, all of these different studies that are in front of me, and I'm happy, after to speak with anybody that has questions. But I want to hear from you folks. There's been a very heated discussion online, in person, and we have a lot of opinions about this, and I want to hear them. And with that, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gonzalez. Vice Mayor Shahoob.
I want you to know that the lot of things that Bobby and I heard or were exposed to during the campaign is that my septic tank I don't have a problem with my septic tank. Okay, I'm glad y'all don't. Septic tanks are not, the only issue here, but it is the big issue. Some people were telling me, well, Pine Lake has no septic tanks and that lake is impaired. Okay, I understand that, but we have to address the issue that we have. And the key here is we are in fact fiduciaries. And part of being a fiduciary is do everything we can to protect what we have and to protect you also, and to protect our town. The town has applied for over $5 million in grants and special legislative appropriations. We received $300,000. The governor vetoed $1 million in the legislative session and did not fund the $2 million. And the FDEP said our $1.7 million grant request was not funded because the governor recommended FDEP only fund BMAP projects. It's above my pay grade, all these initials. The bottom line is real simple. We're doing everything we can to get the money to pay for it. and classically referred to as OPM, other people's money. Every day, new funding opportunities come along. The Palm Beach Environmental General Obligation Bond, as an example, could be a funding source. Somebody told me that, last month on March 29th, that issue is going to be brought before the BCC, Board of County Commissioners. It was. And then we were told it was brought back. And Mr. Clark was there today. And it doesn't have 7-0 support. It's very problematic. You have to balance everybody's demands, but it's an opportunity. The county is asking for shovel-ready projects. I can only imagine what the uproar would be if we hadn't been doing what we have been doing all these years, fussing at us for not doing our due diligence. When we say shovel-ready, that means the projects must already be designed, permitted, and ready to bid. We are working on septic to sewer design so we can respond to these type of grant opportunities. Friday, we begin the application process for Federal Clean Water Act. It's referred to as 319 monies. These monies are a competitive 60% matching grant administered by FDEP, specifically for connecting the homes to a central sewer system. To be clear, if the town were to receive this grant money, it would be used to pay a portion of up to 60% of the work on the owner's property, not in the public right-of-way. The town subscribes to a grant identification service called eCivis. Yeah, that's right. Through the Florida League of Cities. We are also participating in the National League of Cities federal funding program. Congresswoman Frankel's staff communicates with staff on a regular basis to help us find these dollars. It's important to have all these monies in place and committed before construction begins. And we were out there, how are you going to pay for it? Well, we're trying our best. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers, but I tell you what, we're reaching out to the people that can give us all the correct answers and the correct backup documentation. We're doing what, as Bobby said, and as I think you all appreciate, we are stewards. We're here to protect what our most precious resource, and that's the lake. Everybody comes to Lake Clark because of the great community that it is. And it is as great as it is because of all of us working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Dan, would you be so kind as to explain the status of the water bond and that process in general, all the steps that essentially it needs to get to just to even have monies available to seek out, to go after?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to, in that discussion process, acknowledge Mr. Daughtry. He's been at both meetings. I think it's important that the public be heard at those meetings, and I would encourage others to attend as well. Tim was really the only one from the public that spoke in favor of that bond measure. The environmental bond is a general obligation bond. It would need to be voted on by everybody in the county and approved by a significant percentage. And that would allow the county to go out and borrow money for 10 specific things that they have put on the list. 25 million would be for septic to sewer conversion. 25 million would be for stormwater projects. That $25 million would be a 50-50 match to those communities that would apply to the county for assistance. They are proposing a competitive selection process. We were able today to have input on that selection process and get them to add communities that either had DEP BMAPs or DEP 4E plans approved to put us on a priority above those that haven't gone through this effort and haven't worked as hard as we've worked with DEP. There was not 4 votes to move that forward today. It's going to take a lot more work to convince a couple of the county commission members that this is a good thing for us to do. No one has a problem on the commission addressing water-related issues. They do have a problem on the commission just addressing the expenditure of those funds compared to the funds they currently have, which was good news for us. We found out that they have $75 million that they're willing to share. They just hadn't bothered to tell anybody about it. So we have a commitment from Virginia to help us work with the Water Utility Department Director to see how we can get some assistance from them with the 75 million they currently have to move our projects forward.
Thank you very much, Dan. And essentially, the county had to decide to go forward with the water bond, then it gets put on the ballot that the county residents and registered voters have to vote for or pass. And then without that, the money wouldn't even be available to go after.
Correct. And availability wise, as that cycles through everything, it would probably be November, December of 24 before there were actually any funds available.
Thank you. You know, one of the big issues, or if not one of the main issues here, is cost of all this. You know, how are the residents going to pay for it? What's their fair share, et cetera? And a lot of information has been shared about the costs associated with the town side. But what about connecting and from your house down to the line? And where's the money going to come from if you want to pay it in one lump sum? I think one thing for certain is that every member of this council is going to be impacted at some point in time. We're all going to be feeling the hit if and when that time comes. It's important to me, and I've discussed this with Dan on multiple occasions, that we figure out and put together as best a plan as we can for the residents to be able to afford or otherwise ease the burden of this process. A couple things I've discussed with Dan is one, want to vet some plumbers that would come in, they're insured, they know what they're doing, and they're going to be able to do the connection from the house down to the sewer line. That'll alleviate a lot of the searching and bidding of the job, trying to see who's best to do what. If we're able to reach a deal with a couple of these contractors, 1, 2, or 3, or however many would be reasonable, they're guaranteed almost volume. So they basically would be, you'd be hard pressed to find a better deal. I'd like to see if that's possible. I want to reach out to some banks and see, listen, if somebody wants to refi or do a HELOC or any of the number of options available to them, that they don't want to put this on their tax bill and they want to do it in a lump sum, let's see what competitive nature these programs that these banks will come up with. The goal here is that we're going to have 702 impacted homes. That's a pretty sizable number. We can get some companies on board, banks and plumbers, to basically give us such a great deal that it's almost hard to beat anywhere else. That would definitely be a benefit or an option for the residents here to take up. We haven't been able to reach any agreements yet and things like that, but it's certainly something that we're looking into. And any other option, as far as I'm concerned, to make this process as easy as it can be, or at the very least, as painless as possible, I'm all for it. And I would imagine that the rest of the council would be as well. Hopefully we can find some additional solutions down the road. All right. Then I'm thinking we just go to audience comments and go from there versus continuing on this agenda item. Any issue, any objection from the council on that?
No.
Right, okay. So we have 4 written comments. If you guys have yet to do so, y'all want to fill out any topics that's not septic to sewer, or that is anything specific, you can fill these out and bring them up. And quite frankly, if you want to come up and talk, you can. There is going to be a 3-minute time. Charlie, if you could keep track of that. That would be great. If all y'all want to talk, I'd like for everybody to be heard. So we're going to have to really stick to the time limit. So let's start with Mr. Daughtry. This is the first one that was turned in.
Timothy Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. Thank you, Dan, for coming today.
Would you pull the mic up?
Sure will. No
Thank
problem. I was going to read question 16, which Joe came up with, but my daughter will do question 16. I've got plenty to ask about anyway. Under the Michael West project, which the engineer presented us an estimate for last council meeting, what line item is the water line replacement in under that estimate? I don't see a line item for the water line replacement, Dan. Okay?
That design's not complete yet, and it's not in that package.
It is not in that package. Okay. So the estimate on that project was $3,378,000, 135 houses. That comes to $25,000 per house. Okay. And we're being presented with a project that says it's going to be 23,100 per house. Okay. And that is a gravity fed sewer system. And the other projects, which go down further down the line, are all vacuum projects, which I would assume is more expensive. Is that indeed a good assumption or not?
I don't, I would have to ask the engineer that. I don't know that answer right now.
So I'm concerned about the $15 million cost, okay? And the cost of 21.3 per house, okay? I think it's off, okay? And I know it's off after the run up in inflation, since they probably came with these estimates to begin with. So I have a real concern at us talking about a $15 million cost and a cost per house of 21.3. I have a significant issue with that, and whether that could be even managed in this environment, especially with the run up in costs. I'm an electrical contractor. I'm a project manager. I buy pipe and wire every day. Okay. And I've seen the increase in costs over the last 6 months. I've seen the increase in costs over the last 30 days. My brother just saw an increase just on pipe, 15% on Monday. Okay. So we're dealing with this in a really strange environment where the costs are just exploding. And I don't think $15 million is even, I get 2 point. Okay. That's a very big concern for me, because we're trying to nail down costs for individuals on a per resident basis. Okay. This can't be an open-ended deal. Okay. I'm in phase 5. We're talking 7 years out. 7 years of inflation. That's a lot of money compared to what we're talking about 21.3 right now.
Thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate your comments.
Okay.
We're gonna have to move on.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Kulkarni. Did everybody receive his packet, his letter?
Yes.
All right. Ms.
Good
Kulkarni.
evening, everybody. My name is Ashok Kulkarni, address 8131 Westlake Drive. First, congratulations, Gonzalez, Mr. Shelov, and Rodriguez getting elected. And you took the oath, so that is understood that actually you are going to serve the community and everyone. And I have been architect and city planner for last several years. Now I'm retired, but I work in New York, Milwaukee, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale. So whatever I'm going to say here is not for myself. It is for everybody, what I'm going to talk. One of the reasons actually I circulated this, because many times what we talk, it evaporates in the air. So actually I put it in writing, okay? And what I'm going to say here, I'll briefly talk later on, but since we are talking about septic and sewer, something came to my mind. Am I right? This is the map within the consultant's thing, okay? In different phases.
Right.
I don't know, everybody is familiar to this. In this map, the residential area, which actually Palm Spring, where we get the water, is not part of the phase in this one. Am I correct?
Correct.
You understand?
Yeah.
So we are part of town of Lake Large Shores, but whatever you discuss, we are not part of it. Am I correct?
What was the last part?
We are not part of it, what you discuss, because this phase is not in that proposal at all. Am I correct?
He's not in the utility service area
Oh, Mr.
for Lake Clark
Clark.
Shores, so
Right.
he'll not be part of this project.
Yes,
So-
yes. I apologize. I didn't understand.
No,
Yes,
so
correct.
that is very critical. Everybody should know. So if the septic tanks are kind of affecting the lake, this portion which is part of it, which are not few homes, quite a bit, they must be affecting too. So they ought to be considered as well. And I have no idea how that is to be accommodated in your,
So Palm Springs
Yeah.
has to take that up on their own.
okay.
I don't, do you have an update on where they're standing on any of the addressing their portion of responsibility?
They're working right now on a sewer implementation master plan. So they're about 3 years behind where we are.
So anyway, so what we are doing here, this area, Palm Spring is going to take care of it. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, before I came here, I talked to them yesterday and today also. And generally, somebody mentioned they are not yet involved. So that is a very serious matter as a part of it. I thought I should mention that.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Kulkarni.
Because if you are taking septic tank, then each and everybody's septic tank ought to be considered as a part of the town. You cannot exclude. So that is it. Okay.
Thank you.
And number,
Well,
okay, sorry.
if there's time afterwards, y'all can both come back up, but we're going to need to move on to the next section.
Okay.
Okay?
And
To the next speaker.
yeah.
It was we're doing 3 minutes, Mr. Kulkarni. There's a lot of people here. I want to give everybody
Lot of-
the opportunity to
But
speak.
not to me, because I am just not going to take too much time. The main door is
The
closed.
doors, I will address that.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
You are working.
We're working on it.
Yeah, because,
You'll hear about that momentarily, I promise.
right. So please, because that door needs to be open, because if this thing is to be closed, this is not actually,
I
on it open for public and everybody should.
we're going to give an update on the status of the
When
doors in a
I
minute.
gave this letter, I was standing outside and
Would you-
somebody opened the door and I had to give it. I mean, this never happened in my.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni.
Please.
Thank you. Just at what he was touching on, and just in case anybody didn't know, there's only 702 affected homes or impacted residents, however you want to look at it, that are part of the septic sewer conversion. If your water bill comes from Lake Clark Shores, then you're in our service area, and then you're going to be a part of those 702 homes. If your water bill comes directly from Palm Springs, then you're not going to be in the service area where this conversion is going to take place. And that will be up to Palm Springs to implement their own plan. And when they get around to doing that, that'll be when any issues with your septic are addressed, depending on whatever course of action Palm Springs chooses to take. All right, Tina Daughtry. This is on septic to sewer conversion.
Yeah. So, hi there. I'm Tina Daughtry on 1410 Keller Road. And I don't know who can answer these questions that I have, but as you all know, the updated post on the Lake Clark Shores website, it says that the town, it's applying for grants and low interest loans for this big project that we have. And sadly, many of the grants that we applied for was denied by the state. So I guess moving from there, what type of funds or grants have you guys looked at that we could apply to this big project? And I don't know if you guys know like what was turned down and by who specifically. That's not my biggest issue, but mainly like has the town like received any like stockpile or funding before proceeding with this? Like have you guys thought of doing that before we proceed with this big project?
Yes, Dan, can you address those questions, please?
Yeah, we've been turned down for $5,050,000 worth of grants. We got turned down $1 million that the governor vetoed a couple of sessions back. $1.7 million was not funded by DEP through their grant program because we did not have a BMAP or a 4E plan. 1.7 million plus 350,000 was not funded by the legislature. So those are the kinds of projects we've gone after. We have, as the vice mayor mentioned earlier, we have a grant service. We're looking at new opportunities every day. We're applying wherever we qualify and can apply, and we will continue to do so. As the mayor said earlier, we will not tackle any construction project until we have the money in place. That's irresponsible of us to even think about doing that. But back to also what the mayor said to begin with, we have to have the design complete and the permits issued for us to qualify for most of this money. So we need to move forward with the design and permitting process to keep the opportunity out there for us to get money.
That makes sense.
Charlie, can you give me 2 more minutes? I think that.
I actually paused it.
Okay, I
So
say
there's
that.
a minute and a half left on, I paused it while.
That
Dan
seemed
was
too
speaking.
short. Go ahead.
Another question I tend to have is has this been studied and like established? Like if maybe like the septic to sewer is actually like the issue of this whole water situation? Like, have you guys figured out why exactly are we impaired, and will this big conversion make that better, fix that issue?
Well, as I stated earlier, the DEP has answered some of those questions. Dan, would you mind answering that as well?
Well, yeah, it seems Mr. Oblock provided us with 29 questions on Friday, and we responded to all of those this morning. So I'm sorry, your name was on the list. I thought that was a distribution list. He would be distributing that information, but apparently he hasn't. So let me go into some specifics. Ms. Chanowski and Mr. Hoofnagel asked DEP some very pointed questions. One of the questions was, what if Lake Clark chooses to do nothing?
Yeah.
The response to that question was, you pay me now or you pay me later. We don't have a do nothing option according to
I feel like we've already
DEP.
been doing that for a while.
We're either going to go, I'm sorry, but it's right here. I'm happy to read it if you would like.
Everybody in the room, if y'all would like to speak again, you'll have your moment.
Lake Clark is proposed for addition to Florida's verified list of impaired waters for chlorophyll A, total nitrogen, and biology. If the town of Lake Clark Shores had not contacted DEP regarding the ongoing septic to sewer project, the water body would be placed on the verified list and a total maximum daily load would be subsequently developed for the lake. In this scenario, it is likely that Lake Clark would be placed on DEP's 2-year TMDL work plan for TMDL development and adoption by 2024. Responsible entities, including the town of Lake Clark Shores, would then be expected to identify projects or activities necessary to achieve the TMDL required reductions. Our expectation is that the town would identify the same septic to sewer project proposed in the alternate restoration plan to attain the TMDL requirements. The benefit of the alternative restoration plan over the TMDL route is that the alternative restoration plan can begin the pathway toward restoration soon, thus leading to a cleaner water faster before conditions in Lake Clark worsen and require costlier remedies.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And congratulations, y'all.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Kimberly Mitchell, also on the septic to sewer conversion. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi there, council. This is the first time I've appeared before you. Might be the last, but this one
State your
was
name and
Kimberly
address.
Mitchell. I live on West Lake Drive on the lake.
Okay.
Do I have to give my number?
I think you have to give your.
7128. I put it in the card.
Oh, well, I should have read it. My apologies.
I didn't know this meeting was tonight, but I saw this. I got this in my mailbox and I was like, ooh, there's a council meeting on something that I really do care about. As a little bit of background really quickly, I served on the city commission in West Palm Beach for 13 years, and water and sewer were issues that lots of people didn't want to get excited about because it's not exciting, it's not sexy, but I felt it was really important. And for the last 6 years, 6+ years, I have worked on the political side to save the Everglades. So it's from those vantage points that I offer some expertise in some of what we're talking about here. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the state of Florida has been ranked #1 for the most impaired and dirty, polluted lakes in the country. This was a study that was done as a follow-up to 1972, the Clean Water Act. It's federal. And this month we're going to be celebrating Earth Day. That was a result of that. But as they looked at water bodies all over the country, Florida per acre was #1 in not just polluted, but lakes that are not habitable for people to swim or fish in, and lakes and rivers and streams that life can't exist in. And it comes from 2 different places primarily. I deal with one of them, and that's agriculture, corporate agriculture, that is being allowed using BMAPs and TMDLs and all those acronyms we're talking about. They're not doing anything. They're barely a speed hump. It's an issue. To slowing down the pollution that is pouring into states' waters. Also, in the coastal parts of our state, we're dealing with septic tanks. Florida also has more septic tanks by a lot than any other state in the country. So I don't think that it should surprise us that we are getting to this point. In fact, the fact that we didn't get to this point sooner is what I find more shocking. And I can tell you, to my neighbors who I have my back to right now, I'm sorry. Most politicians, well, at the state level, they get campaign contributions from the biggest polluters. That's who we fight. And on local levels, politicians have us, the voters, and they're afraid of us often. So sitting up there,
you can finish your comment.
Sitting up there and doing something that is hard, that is going to cost us money, which I don't like, none of us do, is by definition exactly what a good public servant is supposed to do. So I applaud it. I don't want to spend money, but I will do it. And if I can be a part of helping some of the folks in our community that can't afford it and finding creative ways to do it. I also used to be an investment banker. So I offer my services to the community, and I know there's a way we can do this, and we're going to be proud that we're contributing to a better planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You guys can come see me at my house if you want to learn more.
Would anybody else in the audience like to speak?
Well, I want to follow that, 'cause that's the hardest.
Oh, please, I still would love to hear from you.
This way I can fail miserably and go work as
You could please state your name and address, please.
My name is Kevin Klopp, is 1600 Carandus Road.
Welcome.
Everybody drives by my house. So I heard the words. What I didn't hear a lot of words about was rainwater runoff, and what South Florida Water Management says, big, big, big problem. And yeah, we wouldn't need to spend a bunch of money if we're going to do septic to sewer, but South Florida Water Management says still our bigger problem is oils and antifreezes and dog feces and all the rainwater runoff that I can see the drains right near my house, and it runs right into the water. So I don't hear a focus. Maybe there is a focus on that. I'd like to see more focus on that because that seems, according to South Florida Water Management, and if you were doing all that reading, you had to run across that, Robert. You had to run across South Florida Water Management saying number one cause of water pollution is rainwater runoff.
One of them.
Okay, one of them.
One of
and
them.
It's near the top. So the other thing I heard you say is chasing down local plumbers. We have plumbers on Lake Clark shores. I've used them. They're spectacular. When you go hunting plumbers for hookup, go hunt the people with it. Throw the money back. If you're going to throw money back into the people. I could give you names afterwards, people I've dealt with, but we have several plumbers in the town. It seems to me we should push the money right back to them.
I think that's a great idea.
So I wrote like pages of notes. I'm going to be done with that.
Okay.
So
We're gonna have Dan answer your question on the runoff, but yes, it's something we're well aware of and looking into. But Dan can give you the specifics.
We're not ignoring runoff. Anywhere that we're going to put a sewer line, we're going to be rebuilding the swales. The swales are the primary way to catch the oils and greases before they get into the drainage system. So it's not being ignored, but it doesn't provide the big bang for the buck that the other septic to sewer conversion will.
okay, so that's unclear based on South Florida Water Management. That's not clear that it's the big bang.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to come on up? Sure.
I think that's an appropriate time to address that. I've got some issues. My name is Roger Hoofnagel. A lot of those questions that were posed by us,
You can state your address, please.
7536 Edgewater Circle.
Welcome. Thank you.
I've had a long write-up, but 3 minutes isn't much time, so I'm just going to jump ahead to a couple of things. The TMDL that we're talking about is actually paid for by FedEp. It's not a burden, it's on us. What it does do is establish the nutrient loading that goes into the lake. One of the things that I've run into when I reviewed all of this information that was out there is that we don't know what their load is in this lake. The numbers that's been posed by the council members here is 20,000 pounds per year coming from the sewage system, from the septic tanks. That is an estimate extrapolated from Pine Lake. It's not a known quantity that from this lake itself. The TMDL would establish exactly what those loads are, where they're coming from, and give us an opportunity to really define what we need to be doing out here. Additional to that 15,000 or 20,000 pounds of loading that they talk about, they've stated that it's 15 pounds per year reduction for each septic tank. If you add that up, that's 10,500 pounds for the quoted 700 some odd people that are being involved in it. That's only half of the load reduction that would be required. So it's not even getting us there. The second thing about that is there's studies out there. That's assuming that you got 100% reduction. There's studies out there from Port St. Lucie and from models that are in place that says for horizontal drainage from septic tanks that it's significantly less than that 15 pounds per septic tank. In fact, it's down to about a 20% reduction. If you look at that, you're only going to get 4,000 pounds per year from the systems that you're talking about. And you've told us that we need to get 20, which is an extrapolated number, which we don't even know if it's right. And you're only going to target 4,000 in the studies that I've looked at. They've stated that you got these numbers from FedEp, from Dr. Gao. I've talked with him about that. He agrees that the number that came from the engineering firm that was here was likely derived from a vertical flow into spring-fed lakes, and that the more appropriate one would be the ARC inlet model for horizontal flow, which brings me, the only point I'm saying is there may be a very significantly less help by doing septic tanks than what is expected. And if we're really looking at the quality of the lake, we should be defining studies that define where our problem really is instead of extrapolating from a lake that doesn't even have septic tanks.
Mr. Hufnagel, thank you for your time. And thank you for working with Ms. Chanowski on getting a lot of these, our residents, our neighbors' questions answered from DEP. I think the information they provided was very, very beneficial to all. Yes, did you? Oh, okay. I figured we would talk at the end. Yes, ma'am, please come up.
Hi, Joella Manlin, 1828 Barbados Road.
Welcome.
Thank you. Following this, my question would be, why would it not be possible to hire a number of inspectors to actually go out to some of these homes and find out exactly how much load is coming from the septic systems that are in place? And then we would have some real numbers to work with and not simply numbers based on a study here, a study there. We'd have our actual numbers here in Lake Clark Shores. If we had a number of inspectors going out and inspecting the systems and measuring how much load is going into the lake before we do anything else.
Thank you. Dan, can you answer that question as our internal engineer?
Certainly that can be done. The question is, what's the value? When we get to our discussions with DEP, DEP is not going to use our information and they're not going to use our experts. They're going to use theirs. So we can spend a lot of money and it won't necessarily do anything for us because DEP is running this boat and controlling everything that happens. When Mr. Hufnagel, I believe it was, said earlier that we aren't involved in the TMDL process, that was the response from DEP. They're not going to ask us what our opinion is or where we're going or what we're doing. They're going to dictate to us what it's going to be.
Well, then my question is, what is our motive here? Is our motive to clean up the lake or to simply get DEP off our backs? I mean, you said that if we went through with this project, then that would be sufficient, DEP would be happy. But it seems to me that what we all want is to clean up the lake. That's what's most important. That's what Ms. Mitchell mentioned, and that's what we're all going for, not just to have something on paper that says, okay, you know, we did this little bit, and then the lake is still of a quality that's not acceptable.
I'm of the position that as we clean up the lake, that's how we satisfy the DEP requirements.
Yeah.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak on this topic or any other topic? I'll let y'all think about that for a second. I think we have, oh, yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Catherine Workman, 8031 Pine Tree.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. I like to talk about money. There's a lot of retired people here that did not retire rich. For them to take out a loan on a house that they already paid for is ridiculous and uncalled for. Now, got an email saying add it to the ad valorem tax. Isn't that what Robert had said in one of your emails? Was that your email? An ad valorem tax?
So there'll be two ways to pay for it, right? One lump sum or it gets put on your tax bill.
What I'm asking you is, I did get an email.
I don't know who sent you the
Okay, somebody. And it was the ad valorem that would be put on our real estate tax.
Just the
Did
tax.
anybody else get this? Yeah.
Dan, do you know?
Mrs. Workman, you're almost there. It's a non-ad valorem assessment, but yes, it does go on the tax bill.
Okay, so you pay that which I think from all the money, and I'm not a mathematician, comes to about $1,200, $1,400 extra a year on your tax roll. Okay? So if that person sells that home because they no longer can afford it, does that stay on the home or does that person have to pay from it, from the proceeds? I wasn't clear on non-ad valorem, so.
It's
I-
the home, to the best of our knowledge, the new owner would assume the non-ad valorem costs.
Responsibilities.
Okay,
That's what I understand it to be. It's a below the line item
right.
that goes below.
Wasn't sure.
Right.
So my second question is to give people a chance not to take out loans at any percent. People pay off their homes because they retire. And now, kind of way it looks is a lot of these people are going to have to leave. So then the homes get sold, price is up, and that's more tax revenue coming in. Because a lot of these people are grandfathered in at that low rate. So you will get more tax revenue at that point. All right. So when you add money to the water bill or the sewer bill, that money goes to pay for the upkeep of the sewer bill or the expenses for that. Is there any more money from that sewer income going to the city for something else? Is there any overflow of the money? What would happen to the extra money that you're taking in from the sewer bill that you're not spending on people repairs?
I mean, Dan, do you know where our current, I mean, is that even earmarked with the current sewers that are in town?
Generally in the overall utility, so part of that's here, most of that is down south in Seminole Manor and Hypoluxo Village. The town takes about 7% of the budget for overhead. So those items that we provide here to the utility are paid for by that 7%. That's pretty standard within the industry. It goes as high as 30%. So yes, some of that comes here to pay for overhead items for the utility on all of our operating.
That's
So
based on
let
what's
me
currently,
verify one more time.
well,
So not Seminole Manor, Lake Clark Shores, they're going to pay, let's just pretend, $50, because it's $5 per thousand, $50, $70 per month for the sewer, to use the sewer bill, just like you get your water bill. And you pay people to maintain that, and that comes to a certain amount. Well, by the end of the year, you got money left over. What are you going to do with that money that's left over? Is the town going to use it for something else? Or are you going to leave it set in the sewer fund in case something happens?
right, thank you.
That's a question a lot of people want answered.
All right, I appreciate that.
Typically, it stays in the sewer fund. That's where our reserves are.
Typically.
And I mean, we're not even there yet. We don't even know what that's going to look like.
It's a question
But
people want to know.
thank you very much. I appreciate it, man. Is there anyone else in the audience that would, all right. Good evening.
Frank Sacco, 8031 Pine Tree Lane.
Welcome.
To address what you were saying, that you've met people that want to do it, but,
Sure.
okay, the buts that I hear the same thing. The town is not contributing. $15 million. How much is the town contributing? Of the 15 million to construct the sewers? Except for the engineering. and
Contributing in the,
Are you actually contributing to the construction of the sewer system? Are you putting in five, are you gonna pay 5 million?
On,
towards it?
yeah, basically you're
To get
asking,
our costs down.
okay, I understand. I don't believe that's,
So you're not
And-
contributing anything.
I'm not sure I understand, but is he asking if we're going to tax the residents to pay for
Well,
the
town-
resident
town
sewer
has the
system?
revenues. What happens?
He's asking how much the town is going to put towards the project as a match, which some of those grant monies and
Yeah,
money from
grants,
the
yeah.
legislature that we're looking at is a match.
In layman's
We
terms.
do.
Okay, but, okay.
but it's still part of the overall cost. I mean, we don't make money here. Like it's, what was
Well,
the
the
overage? It's
sewer system
140,000.
is gonna generate substantial revenue. It's gonna generate substantial revenue. Okay, and if you came with a bond issue, $15 million bond issue, okay, you're gonna get substantial revenue to pay those bonds. And you're gonna have the $5 per gallon to pay for the upkeep. And then you'll have to charge a fee to pay the bond interest every 6 months, okay? And I calculated on the back of a napkin, just quick, because on the 15 million, you can get it at $45 per month instead of $120 per month. So that was another thing I heard people say, but it's gonna cost too much. And also, if you come with a municipal bond issue, a sewer revenue bond, you won't have to put a lien on people's homes. That's what a lot of people are worried about. I'm gonna have a lien on my home. If you come with a bond issue, there's no liens. The worst that could happen to you is that they turn off your water. That's why 48,000 municipalities in this country do it. Because that's the best way to help their citizens, to pay for it. Not hit them up with, putting a lien on your house, elderly old lady that has, doesn't have that kind of money, $120 a month. Maybe she can come up with $44, $45. Help greatly. Another thing I hear is fairness. If you live in one of these mini mansions that are 6,000 square feet, 5 bathrooms, you want them to pay the same amount as someone that has a 1,500 square foot home. That's not fair. It's not fair. Okay, it shouldn't be that way. And the way that bonds would bring this down to fairness is because they would pay more. If the 6,000 square foot mini mansion would have 6 people living there using 30,000 gallons a month, and the little old lady that's using 1,000 gallons a month, she's going to be paying less. So that's going to bring the fairness down. Okay, they're going to pay more because they're using it more. So that's the 3 things I hear: not contributing, okay, putting liens on people's homes, and the fairness of the way you have it structured. Like you said, not structured this way. I like it, but not structured this way. Okay, I think if you structure it differently, I think you should. I know I asked the question and you guys gave me the written answer saying that, your financial advisor told you to do it this way. Well, I mean, maybe it's good for you guys, but it might not be good for the citizens. Maybe you should give the citizens a vote. Say, well, look, we're going to do this, and you got a chance to do it with this loan and this lien on your property, or we can do it with bonds where there's no loans or liens, or there's loans still. But the difference is, if you have, the residents are the citizens, we're the town. You guys aren't the town, you're representing us, but the loan is on us, basically, is what you're doing, is you're putting all the burden on us. No burden is on you. Once this project is done and they put a lien on your house, it's up, you guys, you don't care, because if we don't pay, they take your home, or they sell tax certificates on your home. So I think that having the town, you guys more involved in helping the citizens, look like you're helping the citizens, getting these grants and stuff, this is the small amounts of money you're talking about. $1 million, $2 million, compared to 15 million, it's a small amount of money.
Thank you very much for your time and your questions. Appreciate it. Dan, can you briefly address, no, okay, we don't have that time. Good, no, good. We'll address it later. Come on in.
Well, our financial advisor has told us that we'll never get money as cheap going the bonding direction as we will going state revolving fund. So that's why we've chosen state revolving fund. If you can find me a bond that I can get for 1% money for 20 years, we'll certainly look at that. I'm not opposed to anything that will save us money. I'm just told, and my experience is that state revolving fund money is the cheapest money that we're going to find out there.
That's how it's structured. That's the cost of money. That's how it's structured. Bonds aren't going to take people's houses from them. You're not going to put liens on people's houses. Maybe they'll pay a little bit more interest if I don't have to have a lien on my house.
Well,
I'm not sure that that's an accurate statement, because when you go,
listen. We appreciate your comments. If they're all done, you want to come back up for 3 minutes, that's fine. But more importantly, it's clear that we're going to look into it. And I think that's what's important. We got to see what's viable. You have a theory. Let's see how it works out. All right, Ms. Chanowski.
Hi, Jen Chanowski, 7130 Pine Tree Lane.
Welcome.
Thanks. So I hear a lot of what's happening with the money and what we plan on doing. Like Dan mentioned, there's going to be some improvement on the stormwater management. I have a concern because this lump sum you're asking all of us to pay includes repaving the roads, it includes the stormwater improvements, and it includes replacing a water line, which Tim Daughtry brought up. We don't know what that cost is, so I'm not sure how complete that number is for Micah West. So I guess my question would be, of all the things I've mentioned, paving the roads, stormwater management, existing water lines, that's all existing infrastructure that should be improved with our property tax money every year. So they haven't paved Pine Tree, for example, in at least 20 years. So I'd like to know where that money has gone that should have funded paving at least twice now, and why we should be improving the stormwater management and the existing water pipes.
Dan?
I mean, I can't tell you where the money's gone for road paving. I don't know that we ever collected any money for road paving.
Well, wouldn't that come out of our taxes?
It's never been in the budget. So
When's
if
the
it's
last-
not a budgeted item, it wouldn't come out of your taxes.
I did address that at the last meeting, Mr. Clark. In 2007 or 2008, Val and Bob and I were all on council. Joanne Hatton was the town manager. There was $250,000 in the budget to begin with the road paving. She nixed it, took it out of the budget immediately, along with the contingency fund that we had in place for any things of that nature in addition. And we've never seen it again.
That's over 15 years ago. So typically you'd
So
repave asphalt
so
every
if I'm
10
not
to 15 years.
mistaken, we do have monies for the road paving already, correct?
We have the infrastructure surtax money that we're using to pave the roads that are not being torn up for sewers. It's very typical in all of these sewer projects that you repair the roads when you put the sewer in. It's part of the cost.
Wouldn't that be a choice that the town could choose to incur that cost instead of passing it on to us? You guys are kind of setting the whole project up. So if you choose to fund and include that in our costs, you could always pay that yourselves.
We're following what's traditionally done on these kinds of projects. This is what happens.
Well, I don't see it to any advantage to residents.
Your opinion.
Just a shrug.
That's a lot of people's opinion.
I think, yeah, we might all share that opinion. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And Ms. Janowski, thank you again, along with Mr. Hufnagel, for sending in those questions to DEP and being proactive on behalf of your neighbors to get some of these questions answered directly from the source. Would anybody else have any questions, comments, whether on this topic or another? Good evening.
Tony Sacco, 7305 Pine Tree Lane.
Welcome.
My question was, if someone has just installed a septic system, so they're going to have that cost, and then they're going to be burdened with the cost of the sewers, which is going to be 20 to probably 30,000 plus probably another 10,000 to get rid of the holding tank. And I'm assuming that's going to have to be removed and not just filled in.
So
it'll have to be abandoned.
It can be abandoned. There's a number of ways I believe it can be. I'm not an engineer, but Dan, we did that in the 6900 property. We abandoned it. Did we abandon it in place?
We abandoned it in place, yeah.
But will you be able to build on top of that once you abandon something like that?
I don't know that answer.
Well, like it's like a pool. Pool, you have to remove it completely in order to build over it.
Yeah.
So if these septic tanks are abandoned, somebody who wants to build, expand their property, expand their building, would they be allowed to?
I think generally speaking, that would be yes. But again, I think that would depend on setbacks and all the other variables that come along with trying to plan an expansion of your home. I don't think there's a one size fits all answer to that type of a
Right.
scenario.
So the total cost for someone, say, like what Mr. Rodriguez or Gonzalez said, $60,000 somebody just paid for a septic system. Now they're going to be hit with another probably 30 to 40,000. So you're looking at $100,000.
That was a unique scenario.
Well, you had mentioned it.
I did. I wanted to use it as an example, more for the water table. They're actually putting in a lift station because the water table is so high, and I'll get into that in a comment. But it was a unique situation. The prior owner, it was a flip. They never addressed the drain field or any of the waste management. So believe it or not, the kitchen was and other appliances were draining directly into groundwater without going to the septic tank. So there's elements of the draining system, of the plumbing system that was skipping the drain field, the septic tank, and now they have to go in and do a significant cleanup to that property. Number one. Number two, well, I guess when they were doing the studies, they now have to put in a lift station to actually get some of this out. I believe because of the water table. So.
Okay. And so also, why couldn't this just be put to a vote by the town? I mean, you all seem like you've made up your minds.
Put the
Except maybe Mr. Rodriguez is kind of on the fence, but
But
everybody else seems to pretty much made up their mind this is going to happen.
that primarily has to do with the fact that we now have to deal with what has been declared an impaired water body. So we now have to take action, and there is no requirement to put to a vote. And even if it did go to a vote, that doesn't put us in a different position with regard to addressing the lake and having to address the nutrient issue that we now need to remove. So it was like I said earlier when we opened on this topic, delaying or waiting serves no benefit to the town, to the lake, to the residents. It's not going to save us in money from what all intents and purposes for what we got to look forward to doing, whether that's going through the 2-year process and then being in the same position we're in right now. DEP's of the opinion that if we wait 2 years, all that we're going to be doing is having to remove now more nutrients from the lake at a higher cost. So, and then the septic sewer conversion would be the best project to put forward because of the type of nutrient removal, if you will, that comes with that type of a project. So there's just no, from my perspective, from the engineer's perspective, there's absolutely no value to waiting.
But there's no guarantee that that removing septic tanks from 700 houses out of probably hundreds of miles of coast of lake, from Lake Okeechobee to Lake Osborne. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine 700 houses is going to make any difference.
I'm not an engineer. I'm just telling you what they're
Right,
telling
that's what I'm
us.
saying. You don't know if it's going to make a difference.
Well, the point is what I do know,
Everybody else is
or
going to be
I should
burdened.
say have a strong understanding of, is that no one's expressed to me the value in and how we're in a better position if we wait. What are we,
Assuming
what's
the
the better
septic
position?
tanks are even causing the problem. That's what I'm saying. You've got, I mean, the lady that spoke about the Everglades, I mean, all they're just doing is they keep diverting where the pollution is going. I mean, you look at the beach, they always have high bacteria levels, different times of the year. That's going to change with the heat and algae.
I appreciate
So
your concerns.
I
Just so you know, I do believe that you're going to hear from all the council on all the comments. So hopefully you all stick around.
But I mean, I hope you all have an open mind. I mean, to me, it sounds like you're pretty much set on doing this. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Any other audience comments from those here? If you don't mind waiting, I want to go to the written questions and then I'll come back. And as long as, is there anybody here before I move on? You can think about it. Do we have anything written?
We have one written question from Mrs. Prizzy, but she's also raised her hand and would like to speak. So how would you like to?
Let's let her, she's raising her hand. Let's hear it from her.
Mrs. Prizzy, it shows that you are self-muted. There we go.
Am I off mute now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I'm Victoria Prinzi at 1411 Carranza Circle. And it seems like there's a lot of issues that were brought up tonight that could still be addressed that would make a big difference. And you all agreed there were things that, you know, could still be looked into. I'm sorry, I didn't get the guy's name, but the one who spoke pretty intelligently about the load and what difference it's going to make is one. And while I'm sorry, I'm really bad on names, but and then they said that it wouldn't make a difference because the state's going to use their numbers, but it would make a difference to us, the payers and the voters. I mean, if it's not going to make a difference, then we may not want it, and deal with the state as we need to. It's a lot of money to put out just because the state says, and it may not work for us. It may not have the results we want. So, our own engineering studies and the different comments that came up tonight would make a difference, maybe not to the state, but it would make a difference to us. And being able to vote on it is something we probably should be able to do as citizens of Lake Clark Shores after there's a little bit better understanding of what there is. But the other thing, and the other big thing that I think financially, is it's a terrible world economy right now. Inflation, we don't have any ideas about what supplies are going to be. And also the cost of supplies may go down. If we still have a few more years to till 2023 to work on this, perhaps this just isn't the best month and the best time to do this. Maybe this is something that could be tabled for another year till there's a more stable economy. I mean, prices may go down. The prices that you're looking at now are just going to be incredibly high. That could go down. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else who has not already spoken? Yes, sir. Please come on up.
Actually, it's two questions. One of them is related to this, one is related to something else.
Sure.
My name is Anthony Zeilen. My address is 1711 Gregory Road.
Welcome.
It's probably going to be you that's answering. So my first question is, how long have these nutrient levels been elevated that they've been measured for?
Going back, was it 2001 or 2011?
Under our NPDES permit, I think they started monitoring the lake in 2001.
Okay, and that's when the first year that they measured them, that's when they were elevated?
I don't know when they became elevated.
Okay, because I just wonder, what is the effect of the actual houses? I mean, has there been more development in those 700 odd houses that's created more housing, that created more septic systems, which is more runoff? Or is it that there's other sources that are causing an increase in overall runoff? Because it doesn't seem like the number of houses has increased, and unless there's more people per house all of a sudden, why would the septic systems be discharging more nutrients than they were in the last since 1957, or until whenever the last amount of houses were built here?
More septic tanks have failed, most likely.
Okay, so it's just an age-related thing. Over time, these septic systems are going bad.
Yeah.
Okay. My second question is about that speed hump on Westlake.
Sure.
Whose decision was that?
So how many? There was a resident came, gosh, seems like almost a year ago, and asked about how to get a speed bump. And so she, I believe it was a woman, went and procured, I don't know how many signatures of the residents immediately in that area. And that's how it came to be. Can you, Dan, do you know the specific number of residents or what you were dealing with that issue?
So our policy is that we know speed humps are controversial. We don't want to put one in and have people mad at us and not put one in and have people mad at us. So we ask for 66% of the people affected by the speed hump to tell us whether they would like it. So the lady that was interested in having it put in had a petition circulated through the community. She went to 19 homes and she got 16 of the 19 homes to say, yes, they wanted it.
So you're saying that there were 19 homes in total that were affected by Westlake having a speed hump?
We took the 19 homes that go from Carissa to Barbados.
Okay, so that's actually, I live on Gregory, and Gregory already has a speed hump, which I moved in and it was there, so I'm, it's kind of grandfathered into me. But that was, I mean, Westlake is my main route out every day and my main route in every day. So it's certainly affected me, but I've had no say in this, and it's terrible. I know this is going to sound a little bit anecdotal, but I have an old dog, and every day when I go over that speed bump, I never speed, but when I do, or when I go over the bump every day, she's like, she has a problem with it, and it wasn't there before. And my only option is either to go about 5 miles an hour, which I'm still going over the hump. She's still going to have to deal with that, or to swerve around it, which I'm sure the police don't want me to do either. So I feel like there should be at least, I mean, I don't know if you guys will remove it or not at this point, but maybe some sort of cut through so people can actually go through it without having to go over the hump, as long as they're, going a certain speed. Plus for things like ambulances, which if there were 28 responses this month, I mean, how are the fire trucks going over that?
They go over it.
Slow. Doesn't that reduce their response time down from what they said, 1.5 minutes to like more than that? Anyway.
Yeah.
It messes their trucks up too. That's
Yeah.
what they told us last time.
Yeah, so it seems like it's impeding a lot of other things besides just me.
I'm off of
That's all I
Pine.
had to say.
I'm off of Pine Tree. We've got 4 of them.
Yeah.
When I
feel
moved
like-
here, there was 0.
Right, so it sounds like it's an issue that is not a good thing to just put up to 2/3 of some number of people, which 19 doesn't sound like all the people that were involved in that or all the stakeholders, but that's just me. Anyway, that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming here and your comments. Anybody else? Yes, you did. I'm going to see if there's anybody that hasn't, and then I was going to give the floor to Mr. Daughtry for 3 minutes. Anybody else have any comments? No.
My name is Ari Aho. I'm from 8133 Pine Tree Lane.
Welcome.
Thank you. I have a question. Does anybody of you have walked around the lake? Because if you have seen that there is a lot of contributors for the lake. The water is not static. It is changing all the time. And if you are checking only those septic tanks, you don't know that what is coming to the lake. It's unbelievable that you are only talking about the septic tanks. The water is coming to the lake all the time. It is changing all the times.
So this is just one part of what we're proposing to do to address the issue. There are going to be, other things that we need to do in addition to the septic sewer conversion.
But septic tanks do not make any difference if you put them on a sewage system. It doesn't make the water in the lake at all. I don't believe that there is any difference if you put the septic tanks or sewer lines there. It's just the same. That's all.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. Anyone else? All right, Mr. Daughtry.
Want me to say my address again, Paul?
No.
So Tim Daughtry, it comes down to money. Money, money, money. We have to find some money. We can't afford to do this project by ourselves, okay? We need each one of you, plus all of you, to ask for money wherever we can get it from, okay? I've been at the water bond hearings the last 2 times, okay? I was the only one to speak for Lake Clark Shores, except for Dan today, okay? I would have loved to see any one of you show up. I would have really loved to see one of you show up. Money. We need all the people to participate that are affecting the quality of our lake, okay? That includes our town. I sat here before this board with this town council, and we pulled 50,000 a year out of the budget, which was in our budget every year for road resurfacing, okay? I also sat here and watched us pull money out of the utility fund. Last 2 years, we have pulled 200,000 and 190,000 out of the water utility fund. That money should be used for water line replacement. That is Lake Clark Shores town's investment in this type of project. I'm asking that we should have every one of the parties that participate here and involved in water quality be involved in the funding of making this happen. That's the feds, that's the state, it's the county, it's the town, and then of course us individually. And that's what I'm saying. Okay, not just one party, all parties.
Thank you very much. Yes, come on up.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dan McCormick, 7811 Edgewater Drive.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. A couple quick questions. Who is the permitting agency for the water and sewer plant?
For who?
The permitting agencies, Palm Beach County Water Utilities, or another local agency?
If we're doing major capital projects like this, it actually goes through 4 different agencies because all 4 agencies are involved. So it's West Palm Beach, it's Palm Beach County, it's Palm Springs and Lake Clark Shores.
Okay, and then in turn, the health department too?
Health department looks over everything, yes.
And then where are you guys at in the construction document process? Are you at 50%, 75%, 90%?
We're about 75% on the drawings for the Micah West area.
Okay, is it a gravity system,
Gra-
vacuum system? I think it looks like you're proposing one lift station.
That's a gravity system over there with a lift station that's by Wellesley.
Okay, and you're looking at one master lift station for the entire 702 lots?
No, for that 135 lots will be addressed over there.
Have you solicited input from any design professionals in the industry aside from your engineer? It looks like you're using AECOM, and I forgot, wasn't familiar with the other firm. I'm a real estate developer by trade, so this is in my wheelhouse, like off of the town. My expertise and insight, if you let me look at the plans, I can truly value engineer them, potentially offer insight, minimize manholes, manhole depth. Being as the gravity main will go in the middle of the road, so minimizing impacts where we can, and cost is good if everybody's concerned. We can work to beat that down. I can tell you that 21,300 per individual lot, I install it every day for $10,000 to $12,000 a lot. I know you have repaving, I know you have other costs, but I'm offering my expertise to the town if it should be so welcome. Review the plans, look at what the engineers put together and beat that cost down where feasible.
If you have a business card, we'd be happy to have you do that.
I can certainly get that to you.
Thank you.
I know engineers oftentimes, especially AECOM and the larger agencies or larger companies, over design, they include all the bells and whistles. We're talking local. I don't know why Ford and Associates wasn't used at the corner of Forest Hill and Florida Mango. They work on a lot of my projects. They're a local company. That $500,000 in revenue could have surely gone back to the community, not to a national organization.
We've had AECOM and Jones Edmonds both on these projects, so.
Great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. We're all good? Yes.
Ashok Kulkarni. Last meeting, I had mentioned my concern that Lake Clark Shore Drive was not finished for a number of years. I'm glad to see recently there is a blacktop moving along. Is that right? That is where actually the surrounding homes are not subject to sewer system. Is that the reason?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
correct.
But isn't it strange? Actually, we are in the town and part is excluded from the sewer system and part are subject to this. Isn't it that should be coordinated and everything should be together?
That was decided a long time ago.
Ashok, you spearheaded that to bring Palm Springs in to provide you with water, you and your wife, Pana.
No, I realize it, but
Okay,
because of the source of water, we are talking about the.
I understand. I just was reminding you.
Talking about the budget and the cost, and here is a large part of the Lake Luster community is excluded, right?
Well, that was the previous councils before us that did that. They actually
Yeah,
gave
but-
away the service area on the north side too.
Yeah, but you are the present council. This is your power to just figure out.
Yeah,
how
it
to
doesn't,
do that.
you can't, it doesn't work like, it doesn't work like that where we can get it back. We would like to, but we can't get it back. Or the north side either.
Thank you.
Are there going to be speed bumps on this new blacktop there?
Not unless.
I don't believe so.
66%.
There,
I'm pretty safe driver. I'm not fond of humps or bumps, but I'm curious. That road looks nice. It's not here to my place, but I was curious. Are they going to provide any humps or bumps?
there are none planned now.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Hoopnagel wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, do you still have a comment?
Just real quick. The question was asked about the septic tank failure. The Palm Beach County permits for septic tanks that have failed, the data indicates it's a 0.5% in all of Palm Beach County. So it's a very, very low number. So if you're hanging your hat on that being a problem, it's not a very big hat hanger.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any comments before we move on from the audience?
We have two more online that would like to ask a question.
Sure.
Two more hands raised.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
absolutely.
Start with David Viola.
Good evening. I live at 1939 West Court. My question is, how many homes total are in Lake Clark Shores? Roughly.
Single-family residential homes are 1,402. There are
1,400.
multifamily homes in here as well. I don't have the count for those.
Okay, but roughly 1,400 homes total. And how many homes are going to be affected by this project of the sewer system?
702.
700. So not everyone is going to be affected by this project. Only about half then approximately.
Right.
Where do we find out at City Hall to find out
If
where?
you get your water bill from the town of Lake Clark Shores, you're in the area affected.
Okay,
your
yes. My water bill is from the town of Lake Clark Shores, yes.
Then you are in the area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And the next name. Aman Ahub.
Okay.
Hi, yes, Ahmad Ayub, 8081 Westlake Drive.
Welcome.
Hi. We're actually very thankful for the speed bumps that were applied, considering we have kids and all our neighbors around us have a ton of kids. And the amount of cars that go zooming past our house, roughly 30, 40 miles an hour, is very unsafe. So we are thankful for that. We're actually much more south of that speed bump, and we were wondering if you guys are applying more speed bumps in that area.
None at this time are planned.
All right, if I go around having 19 people in my area sign, is that something that's going to happen?
I think
I didn't hear
that's
the response,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
You just moved in next door to me, so you'll have to get some signatures, it would appear.
Okay. And then the other part is there any future plans to have any park renovations completed?
Yes, we have the pickleball court, hopefully, when we get our money in over at Community Park on the north side. Any other particular upgrades planned right now?
We have, we were notified this morning that the handicap swings should be here in time for the barbecue.
Nice, very nice.
Any updates to the current park that we have with the tennis courts and the playground park?
Anything other than
Just the swings, that's all.
Just the swings. All right, so just going back to that question. So if eventually, if I do get some signatures, are we saying there is a possibility we get one more speed bump?
I don't make promises. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, contact Dan Clark, and if you could just get with him. He provided the information to the last resident that had this inquiry, and you can go from there.
Perfect. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Let's move on to status reports. We'll start with the chief.
All right, I'll give you a little bit of information. It was very slow, which is great. Since we do have a lot of people here, let's show our crime rate. When we first went into the COVID, it was down 40%. Totally with UCR, we're down about 19%. We had some audits with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which we passed all the audits, which was good. We had a couple of narcotics arrests, cocaine, marijuana, and guns. Both those subjects were booked in the county jail. Now, a lot of the council is generally interested in this. Everybody knows we have 5 LPR cameras. During the month of March, we processed 66,288 tags were read at 5 locations coming in and out the town. 2 stolen cars, and then we get miscellaneous hits where people are tracked through the criminal justice system, sex offenders, that type of thing. So overall, it was a great month for the residents of the town of Lake Clark Shores. So that's it. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Can you tell the residents about the drug take back on April 30th, please?
I've been on vacation. I just got back Saturday. We're doing the drug take back. And if you have prescriptions that you don't need, you can bring them in and dispose of them. At the end of the day, the DEA comes, picks it up, and it's incinerated. So it doesn't get into the water system or in the hands of people that have issues with prescription drugs.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief? No.
I think the last time we took in over 40 pounds of narcotics, prescription drugs.
Charlie.
The legal status report is included in your agenda packet. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Mr. Scheck?
Charlie, I have a question. You've heard about a policy regarding speed bumps. Is that a policy that is mandated by the state, a county, or is that just our internal policy?
That's your internal policy.
Do you know how old this was when it was started?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can certainly find that answer for you.
I can provide that. It was started May 2011 because we didn't have a policy before that, and they were just kind of willy-nilly.
And we have the ability as a council to change that policy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You always have that ability.
Okay, thank you. All I have.
You making the motion?
Well, the gentleman who brought up the term affected, I'm affected and I live way down that way. So I think everyone's affected by a speed bump.
I'm
I get
affected.
it, right in front of your house, you'd love to have one, but you're right. I don't know. I just feel like it's such a hindrance driving over it. We drive slow enough as it is. What do we need speed bump for? But I can't believe only 19 people were able to get that speed bump in there. I just can't believe
16.
16. I am flabbergasted about that, and I don't want it to happen again with 16 other people being able to do that. So
We have 2 other requests in process.
okay, well, we need to maybe bring this up on our agenda.
Yeah, can you put this on the agenda for next meeting for us to take action on, and Charlie at least advise us as to what the options are for the current pending requests?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Scheck other than that? No? Okay. Dan, Mr. Clark,
My report's here. I'm happy to answer any questions.
any questions for Mr. Clark?
I just want to say thank you, Dan, for sitting down and spending a lot of time meeting with me and kind of bringing me up to speed on some of the stuff and educating me. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Dan, I met with Dan this past week in anticipation of tonight's meeting and went over the 29 questions that were previously submitted by your neighbors. And I want you to know that Mr. Clark, with the assistance of our engineers and staff in particular, he worked basically 4 days straight to get these 29 questions in some sort of form to distribute tonight. 4 days straight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we got them Monday. And it's just unbelievable. Thank you very much for your dedication, because I learned a lot. I appreciate Mr. Hoofnagel. When I was out, Bobby and I had the opportunity to get to know Mr. Hoofnagel, and he was very gentle on us. He just looked at me and said, "Son, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about." And I said, "You're right. I have no idea. Look, I'm a lawyer. I'm not an engineer, but I think we both got a crash course in FDTL, ABCD. I tell you what, I still don't understand it, but I do know that I appreciate Dan's hard work. Dan has close to 40 years experience. Mr. Lynch, 30 years, 35 years?
Actually, he's closer to 50, I'm closer to 40.
Yeah.
Dan,
I also want you to know that Mr. Lynch is our
Lead
other
engineer.
engineer, and we should probably wish him a happy birthday, because he came here rather than go out with his family to celebrate birthday, so he could be here to assist in answering any of y'all questions.
We entertain a motion to sing happy birthday.
That's a great segue, and happy birthday. I was going to ask Mr. Lynch if he has anything to add to the report he provided on the status of the conversion engineering project. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lynch?
And so that the residents see me and I'm not hiding in the back. It's just that- So I'm glad to answer questions as directed by the-
Can we answer the question Tim had on the water lines that are replacing? They're proposing.
Sure. Bill, can you address where the water lines are in relation to the design?
Tim had the question originally.
About the cost for the water line. But like Dan said, that design had not been finished, so there was no opinion of cost.
So that cost was not in that estimate.
Correct. Yeah, it wasn't shown.
Okay. So obviously, there would be an additional increased cost on that estimate that was submitted, right?
Yes, the estimate you saw was for the replacement of the sewers. It did not include.
But there was road replacement too.
Yes.
Okay, but no water line replacement.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I noticed that right off and I
Yeah,
thought I was.
you're right. It would have been disclosed if it was there.
Yeah, I thought.
Correct.
All right, that was it. Thank you. All right. That covers all the status reports. Moving on to council comments. We'll start with the newest addition. Mr. Councilman Gonzalez.
Just wanted to, circle back. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Folks that are online, folks that are in person, for sharing your point of view, your perspective, your concerns. Thank you. I've got my ears open. I'm very thankful to the folks that have rolled up their sleeves and have been part of it and been participating. I'm very thankful to the staff of Lake Clark Shores. they're tremendous. They're a tremendous asset, a tremendous resource to all of us. If you see kind of what happens behind the scenes a little bit, they're very hardworking and very diligent. To lighten it up a little bit, I have these little bracelets, and one of my scary things that I see driving down all 4 speed bumps down Pine Tree Lane is residents that are in all black, walking on the same side of the road, and without any lights, without anything. It's very difficult for my young eyes to look and see. I can only imagine for anyone that has any type of vision impairment. So this was just my little token. If you want one, I'm happy to give you one. I got about 400 of the bracelets. I will pass them out to you. I think I may have some in the car. So they don't come in red. I'm sorry. But anyways, thank you very much. I'm honored to represent our residents, our neighbors, and thank you very much. I look forward to being a fiduciary of Lake Clark Shores. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Congratulations, Bobby and Bob. And thank you for nobody running against me, I guess. 16 years on here. I mean, Bob, yes, I've known Bob for a lot longer. Bob convinced me to run 16 years ago. And at the time I ran, I think 2 or 3 people ran against me. But more seriously, I think tonight was one of the most interesting council meetings we've had with input from residents. The biggest problem I have with this project and understanding this is kind of a bigger problem. When you get your tax bill, there's this gigantic amount of money that goes to the school district. And a lot of you don't have kids. I mean, I never put my kids in the school system, but I still had to pay the bill. And it kind of always got me mad. Why am I paying for everyone else to have an education? And like welfare is the same way. We pay taxes to the federal government to give money to people. So what I'm thinking here is we've got 700 homes of 1,400. That's what I'm hearing, half the town. And I'm trying to figure out what is the fair share of, because what about the 700 people who are not getting, who are not a part of the plan? Why should they have to pay, or should they have to pay under the same theory that we pay for school taxes and we pay for welfare? I have to grapple with that because I'm trying to figure out what's fair for everybody. Because what I'm hearing are we have a lot of great citizens here who are really worried about this assessment. And they're also worried about whether it's completely needed. Now, I've read the EPA website and I've been reading, septic tanks, from my understanding, were for rural communities. And we used to be rural, and they were traditionally for areas that were well spread out. And then as you get bigger, they're really, the Palm Beach County went through a whole phase of changing, like Belvedere Homes. Anybody remember where Belvedere Homes is? They went through a project of completely converting Belvedere Homes, which was a really old community built in the 40s and 50s, to septic, to sewer. And I was always wondering how they went about doing that, where the money came from, how did those people pay? Because those people in those neighborhoods, some of their houses were $70,000 and $80,000. That was it at the time they did the conversion. And then I talked to a council member up at Jupiter Inlet Colony, which is the exact opposite of Belvedere Homes. And somehow they did it. They converted all their homes, but it was a much smaller number, 140 to 150. Trying to figure out how they floated a bond, what they did. I'm very interested in looking at all the ideas of whatever else is out there, because I just don't want this to all of a sudden become a $50,000 burden on 700 homes. And I don't know if it should be a burden on other people who are not in those 700 homes, the other 700 homes. I'm trying to figure that one out too. And I don't think a referendum makes sense because it's not all 1,400 homes that are affected, it's 700. So I think really the 700 homes, those people are the ones who are the ones that are really the stakeholders in all of this. But maybe not. Maybe the way it goes, council, is we pay for, the town has to take on part of this as well. Everybody does. And I'm confused by that. But what I heard tonight was very helpful, because I've heard a lot of people very skeptical of whether the lake will really be fixed by septic tank versus sewer, whether there's other ways to clean up the lake, whether there are better waste bonds versus state revolving funds. Why are the roads not done? I mean, I remember the road issue because when I first came on the council 16 years ago, I'm like, we need to get these roads fixed. That was 16 years ago. And we had a 15-year plan, and every year a certain amount of money came out. And Bob, you probably remember this. And then all of a sudden we didn't have the money anymore. There wasn't enough. Some of it was taken out, as Mr. Freebold remembers. I was lucky when I moved in 1997, my road had just been paved. But that was 25 years ago and it has been paved again. Why am I lucky? Because I don't live on a heavily traveled road. My neighborhood is not heavily traveled. Our road's held up. But what about the poor person on Westlake or Pine Tree who, you know, has had their road unpaved for 25 years? It's horrible. I think we need to address the road issue. And I get the point that Dan's making that the road is a part of septic to sewer conversion. So you really don't want to pave a road that you don't want to double pay because roads are expensive. So all I'm saying is I'm open-minded still here. Okay. I am trying to figure this one out. And yes, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not an engineer. Okay. So I don't understand the engineering completely. Mr. Hoofnagel, thank you because you are helping us and you're bringing things like Mr. Clark's doing the same thing.
Yes.
And I want it to be fair for people. I do not want to see older persons ever get knocked out of their house because they can't afford stuff. We're not that type of town. We want people to leave here because they can't afford to pay an assessment. I mean, I'm not that type of person. I would never want that to be done. Water lines are another problem. We have water line problems everywhere in this town that we're just hanging in, and we have to somehow fix that. And we need to know what the water lines will cost as a part of the septic. So I think in the end, I want to just tell everybody, I took detailed notes and my goal is to just keep listening to you and keep talking to all of our sources up here. But I want to tell you, I don't think we've made up our mind on what we want to do. I don't know. We don't talk about it outside of meetings. But I do know this, our town manager, who is an engineer, has been helping us understand it. And he has come in with a bunch of resources that this town has never had before. When we had that quote unquote referendum in 2005, we had no info, no intelligence. Nobody knew anything. We didn't even have a measurement in the lake. I mean, it was just this idea of converting. Well, we've come a long way in 16 years, 17 years. I think we have a long way to go. I don't think this is just, I don't know, in my opinion, I'm not ready to decide to do anything for a little while because I really want to study more options. And honestly, I want to understand funding and I want to understand who should pay for it and how we can get it real cheap. One gentleman in the very back there, I don't know your name, but I think you were an angel. He came in here and all of a sudden offered some ideas to us on how to cut costs. And I think that's what all of you want to hear, right? Because I think all of you would like to say, if this has to be done, is there a way to cut costs? Is there a way to do it less expensive? And I can't tell you there is or isn't. I'm not an engineer. I don't understand it. But I have some hope when I heard from this gentleman back there that maybe he can offer some help to us. And as a community, we can work together. Let's just not make it a bitter fight. That's not what this is about, in my opinion. I'm not against any of you. I want us to come up with a solution. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Freebold.
Well, Val, great minds must think alike. Because I was sitting here thinking the same thing. I've taken extensive notes. First of all, nobody's mind is made up. We have been vetting this for years now, staying ahead of the curve, which is what our job is to do for everybody here. So the fairness thing is like, I'm thinking, okay, so you pay $30,000, just throw that number out. Your property value goes up $30,000. The other folks who don't pay don't get that benefit. Okay, so I get my tax bill, I look at the education system, my kids go to private school, but I still have to pay that. So there is some thought to that. So this is not a done deal. There does need to be some fairness. We do need to figure this out. I can't, inside of me, my youngest daughter is an environmental engineer. I cannot inside of me think that the septic tanks do not contribute in some way. And in their explanation, the FDEP fully acknowledges there are other contributors to the Lake Clark Basin. We know that. Mr. Klopp, I agree with you. I've been riding on my boat and I've been watching on I-95, and the runoff that comes from that is unacceptable. And you can go on the East-West Expressway, if you consider that an expressway. You can go on 95, you can see it running right off into the lake. So we have addressed those people. In our years of building these relationships and attending these meetings and doing all of this, we've gone to the federal level. We've spoken to our representatives saying, what are you going to do for us here? Because the way the water flows, it pushes it in, and when they move it, it's inevitable. So that's true. That is happening. There are other forms contributing to the lake. I know a lot of people, you've been here a long time. I've lived on the chain of lakes since 1970, a long time. I've seen it steadily go downhill. It's not just septic tanks, but this council with Mr. Clark also agree. We've looked at, for years ago, we looked at dredging the lake. Correct, Bob? That's a huge expense, but there's just not money in the budget. This is a small town. If you've read our budget is very small, what we have. I have to applaud Mr. Clark because he's done a very good job living within that. So our minds aren't made up. I think we, as a council, oh, and speaking of something else, fairness, I'm sorry, I got my notes are all scattered here. We do care once we leave this dais. You know why? We all live here. And I've long said, Paul and Bobby and Val, you guys still have college bills to pay. Bob and I, we're good.
Yeah.
We're done.
Thanks.
So we do care. We pay that bill too. So we are working hard to find the best avenues to find a solution. Will everybody agree that this is the best solution? Probably not. You're not going to have 700 homes say, okay, I want to spend 50 grand. That's what I'd love to do with it. I'm in the same boat, but I do know I want to see the lake improve. I want to see the chain of lakes improve. If you heard that, we're working on the Blue Way Trail, which is a connection of the chain of lakes, getting portage. That's our baby out there, and that's what does it. So we do care. We really do care. I know everybody here does. So we are exploring all of our avenues. We are looking at everything. This council chambers is open at every single meeting. Everything is up for discussion. So it shouldn't be just one time when there's this contentious discussion that we have to have that we're getting this kind of attendance. Come in and see us. You know, there's an old saying, if you don't talk to me, I don't know what you're thinking. I use that one all the time. So talk to us so we know what you're thinking. Now I'm going to shift gears. We have a lake cleanup coming. How do you like that one? Played right into it. 23rd, we're cleaning up the lake. Just raised by hands, how many of y'all have boats on the lake? You've seen the condition. You've seen the debris. We'll go in there and clean up and fill 2 dumpsters. 5 days later, there's more debris in the lake. It boggles my mind how that happens, but it does. So please come out. April 23rd, 8 o'clock. That's this Saturday, correct? Next Saturday?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Okay, this Saturday is Easter. Which happy Easter, everybody. Come out, take your boats out, just explore, look and see what's going on. Even if you don't want to take garbage out of the lake, see some of the stuff that's coming out of this lake that's been fed from other lakes. So my opinion is they all got to, you know, pitch in along the chain of lakes. The big people out there, like Ms. Mitchell said, all of those agricultural farms and all those things that are contributing, everybody's got to do their fair share. The next thing is on May 7th, we will have a fishing tournament. So another thing that I've done in my years on this council is I have brought out the FWC, and we've had biologists on here to look at the fish that we bring in and identify the fish and see what their problems are. Actually, in reality, the wildlife in the lake is in pretty good shape. Doesn't relieve us of our responsibility to what we're doing, but they are. So that's the 7th. Tell your friends, tell your family, come on out and fish with us. It's a good community thing that we do here. And aside from the interruption that we've had over the past 2 years, I think this is maybe the 13th or 14th year that we've done this. So I look forward to it. I'm a community builder. I've always wanted to build communities since I've been up here. We've raised our children here. We don't plan on going anywhere. We will come to a solution and we will listen to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Shalhoub.
Me too.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned knocking on door to door and going to the meet and greets and just walking the neighborhood. You all want to be more engaged, and I think that's great. I want to help as much as I possibly can. One thing that I do in my professional life is I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything, but when I walk into court, I have experts. I have experts that tell me the value of real estate. I have experts that tell me the value of businesses. I have expert help me calculate, what's the marital and non-marital portion of the marital estate. I'm in the same situation here. We are so lucky to have Mr. Clark, who's got almost 50 years of engineering experience, and with Mr. Lynch experience, and reaching out to the other experts. And I really want to give a shout out to Joe Oblek, Miss Jennifer, pronounce your last name? Chanowski, Mr. Hoofnagel, and others, because what you're doing is you're making us think outside the box. But I think what we have to appreciate is what's inside the box first. And only thinking outside the box after you understand what's in it. And you're challenging all of us. And I thank you very, very much. I really do. The best way to figure out where we need to go is to have everybody involved in the process and being as transparent as we possibly can. And you'll always find that in me. I have people, you all have my cell phone number, and if you don't, I'll give it to you again. But call me, email me. I'm very responsive that way. And I just thank you so much for the privilege to represent you. It's an honor. It really is an honor. Okay, what they didn't talk about was May 15th is our barbecue.
I was leaving that for you, sir.
Well, I tell you what, I've got Clean Up the Lake here April 23rd, and I'm sitting here going, okay, let's everybody show up. April 23rd is the Clean Up the Lake. The barbecue is May 15th. We're not doing takeout, so that's going to cut down on a lot of extra energy. So we're basically condensing our prep time from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Paul says we can just do it Saturday, Sunday. I'm thinking, well, maybe Friday, but I tell you what, we need a lot of people to show up Saturday morning. Need a lot of people to show up Sunday morning. If you want to learn some of our secrets to championship barbecue, Paul and I will show you what we do behind closed doors in the pit area. I want to thank everybody for all of their support in this last election. And I'm up here to serve each and every one of you. And if we can find the cheapest way to do it, that's our job too. And I just say thank you very, very much. I would be remiss. I don't know whether Paul's going to say this. You want to do 4 times? You going to do it?
Just go ahead.
I don't want to take, you got to talk to something about something.
No, go ahead.
I guess I have some privilege. We've been saying thank you to Senator Lori Berman. We've been saying thank you to Representative David Silvers. You should also be appreciative of the work that we have and the cooperation we've received from Representative Matt Wilhite out of Wellington. And don't forget Representative Rick Roth, because they have helped us. And you might not know who Roth is and Wilhite, but they're part of the Palm Beach delegation. And they were instrumental in getting the annexation enclave passed and presented to the governor. And also 250,000, or was it 300,000?
250.
250 that Representative Will Height got for us for the Blue Way Trail. Also part of you heard about the environmental and obligation bond. You should also appreciate that we're in there in two areas: the septic to sewer conversion to assist. And this is what it says: improve water quality via conversion of septic tanks to central sewer. Priority areas are Lake Worth Lagoon, Loxahatchee River watersheds. Local governments, $30 million. But that is going on an uphill battle right now. And also the C51 intercoastal access, AKA the Blue Way Trail, $5.5 million is part of the bond, but that is meeting a lot of resistance by what appears to be now 4, maybe 5 members of the Board of County Commissioners. So everything we do up here, we do with the best interest of our town. I just want you to know that. But we couldn't do it without the involvement of Dan Clark. He has just been recognized as a home rule hero. And I believe this is the 4th time, Mr. Clark, the 4th time that
in a row
the Florida League of Cities has recognized Mr. Clark for his outspoken support for the local initiatives of Palm Beach County that also spread throughout the entire state of Florida. And y'all, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Clark as part of our team. So please join me. Other than that, I'll pass it on to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Mayor. Congratulations, gentlemen, on your re-elections and your election. I look forward to serving with y'all for the next couple of years through the rest of y'all's term. Really and truly, I appreciate that everyone's here. I don't know why everyone was here, meaning how you found out about it and why you chose to show up. But the fact that you're here means a lot to everybody on this council. The septic sewer conversion project will be an agenda item with regard to a status update going forward. So it's going to be talked about. It's going to be here. Been talked about for quite some time now, as you heard me say earlier. But we're in the phase now where there are constantly going to be updates. So if you are curious what's going on and want to be involved, please come to all of our town council meetings. If you don't want to wait, please reach out to us or reach out to the town staff. We are the ones who truly know the most about what's going on in the process, what information we're being provided, what information we've requested, what information is pending, right? So feel free to openly communicate with everyone here on the council and everyone at town hall staff. Mr. Kulkarni, we are looking into getting the doors secured, right, Dan? So hopefully in the immediate future, I don't know the timeline, but I'm very immediate future, hopefully, we're going to have the solution so that the main doors don't have to be locked to where someone has to knock and come in. So far, I haven't heard any issues of people getting actual access. It's you knock, someone comes. But that will soon be a thing of the past once we have the security issues resolved that Mr. Clark is spearheading for us on behalf of the town. And thank you very much for your kind words and the letter that you sent all of us. April is Water Conservation Month, and congratulations to Taylor Materio for becoming the newest member of our Code Enforcement Board. I too very much want to thank Representative Roth and Representative Will Height on all that they have done for us. Representative Roth was instrumental in getting that area declared an enclave. It was something the town has been trying to do before I came on board, and it was something I made a priority of mine when I ran, and it's great to see that this process is starting to finally yield some positive results. So that was a big step for us in this whole process in addressing the inequities created by the fact that they're not a member of our town. And lastly, with regard to decisions I make on the council, whether it's on septic to sewer or any other decision, I do not let my personal beliefs and how it's going to personally impact me play a role. I've said that from day one. I said it when I campaigned. I say it multiple times a year when I'm up here on the dais. It's not about how is this going to personally affect me. I have to look at everything on a whole, and I will always do what I believe to be in the best interest of the town, whether that's moving forward with the conversion or not moving forward or moving forward with any other project. You name it, it doesn't matter. It's a very simple decision. Is this in the best interest of the town? And I rely on our experts, our engineers, our town manager, our staff, and discussion from the town council and input from the residents to make those decisions, as I have on every decision for the most part that I've ever made that was of any substantial scale as a member of your town council. So that's where I stand on making decisions. You'll know when our decisions are made because it'll be voted on, it'll be discussed. But I will always do what's in the best interest of the town. I love it here. I've bought in here twice. I have absolutely zero intentions of ever leaving. Home values have gone up. It doesn't do me any good because I'm not moving anywhere. So thank you all again very much for your time today, for your patience. We've been at it for 3 hours. I think I somehow hold the record for the longest meetings ever in a year span, although I guess this starts the second year. And thank you again to the board, to the commission, to the council for having your faith in my leadership and in our leadership up here. So thank you very much. Have a good night. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Pavone.